106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Good evening, Chicago, and welcome to another Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. Yes, that was our formerly convicted, disgraced, indicted, and imprisoned governor of the state of Illinois, Rod Blagojevich, now available to do wedding parties. Yes, as Twitter shares with us from Jack Nices. Yes, Rod Blagojevich now spends his weekend singing Jailhouse Rock at parties in Chicago. Video from a friend who was there. Good evening, Chicago. Pull up a cold one. I thought that that breaking news, as I found it on Twitter, was very appropriate given the long history of corruption and legislative abuse in the state of Illinois, as well as the city of Chicago. So yeah, I wanted to treat y'all Friday night, share what I thought was not only absurdly amusing, but so apropos. I just don't think we can separate fact from fiction anymore, as far as it goes with our elected representatives here in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago. So as I greeted you all in the beginning, thanks again for joining us for a Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. We got a good show tonight. We're engaging in an experiment tonight. I've often expressed that I'd like to have some of our live chatters participate in the program. We have done that in the past with my very good friend Art Medina, who is joining us tonight.
Hey, Jerry, it's good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see
you. I don't understand. What's the occasion of you wearing the dark glasses and the hat? Because I swear, I don't think I've ever seen you dressed like that ever in my life.
It was Jailhouse Rock, and what's very, very funny, as we were preparing for the show, Art showed up like this, having no idea that I was going to do the same thing. Talking to Rod Blagojevich.
Yeah, and which is amazing because, I know you're a huge fan of the Blues Brothers, but the thing about it is that lately, and I think this weekend is supposed to be this big deal in Joliet about the Blues Brothers. So you actually have got the ear on what's happening in Chicago this weekend, if that's what you were pointing to do.
What, me, a big fan of the Blues Brothers?
I don't believe so.
Where did you ever get that idea, Art?
Fuck this noise, man.
Awesome. So let me take a moment here to adjust something. My board operator and producer and friend and associate, Mr. Heller, is telling me that my mic is a little hot. So let me see if I can bring my audio down a little bit. Let's see here. I'm bringing down the mic volume manually. I hope that makes a difference. Mr. Heller, just let me know in the live chat or in the private chat if that's better. So we have another guest joining us tonight, another guest co-host. And I want to thank and welcome Mr. Mike Rice, also known as Ilhanar.
You son of a bitch.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Who's joining us for tonight's broadcast, along with Art. I think I can take these off now.
Thank you for having me, Jerry.
Mike,
Yeah, let's
thanks
take
for joining
off
us tonight.
Yeah. I'm just glad to be here. It's nice to see you guys.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. My family actually comes from Chicago, so it's really interesting. My grandfather used to tell me about all the crap he used to get up to as a kid in Chicago. So, yeah, he used to freaking bootleg booze to neighborhoods when he was a little kid. So they would tape it to the inside of his legs, and they dress him up in his Sunday best, and he'd carry like 20, 30 bottles around, and cops would never search him because he looked like a clean little white kid who, yep. And he'd get paid a nickel a day for it. Help feed his family. Man.
We've talked about this in the live chat a couple times. Shared Chicago bootleg early Prohibition stories. I've heard a few from my dad in regards to my grandfather. Now, Mike, interestingly enough, despite the fact you participate religiously in our live chats and
I do,
to know a lot about Chicago, you live in
Tucson, Arizona.
And yep. I think it's a lot of fun that Mike joins us under his screen name Ilhanar, which I want to ask you, what is the origin of the alias Ilhanar, and am I pronouncing it right whenever I mention you in the live chat?
Yes, you're pronouncing it right. And how I came upon that name was because I used to play a lot of Mass Effect when I was a kid. That's an old game, and I used to play it religiously. And there was a species in there, an alien species called Hanars, and there was one that was sick, and they said it was an Ilhanar, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll just go with that because I'm ill with society, anyways.
That fits. I mean, I drive around Chicago in my Jeep, and my license plate says,
I believe it.
Chico BT, and I'm constantly asked at red light stops, what does Chico BT stand for? Well, not enough room on the plate to put Chicago Bat, so yeah. That's where my alias comes from, given my proclivity to constantly be inspired by. I don't live by the tenet, what would Jesus do? I live by the tenet, what would Batman do? So anyway, there you go.
Well, I mean, that's our society today. It's nuts. It's absolutely insane.
I also know exactly what Batman would do. Batman would move up. Batman would not live in Chicago. It's too dangerous.
You think he would bail? He would cut bail?
Yes.
Speaking of libations, everybody got theirs opened up here. I got mine. All right.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just mixed it. I decided to just
cheers. Virtual cheers, everybody. There we go. All right.
We needed that.
Yeah, really. I hope everybody in the live chat. Yeah, Miguel H. Let's say hello to some of our live chatters. We got Miguel H. We got Beastmaster X. We got Warren Extra Bulla. And yes, Extra Bulla, I was inspired by my guest appearance on your show where you put that marvelous intro together utilizing a Chicago movie clip. So the Blues Brothers 106 Miles to Chicago is now going to be a regular feature of the Chicago Corner Open.
Very nice. Thank you
Nice.
very much for doing that
Nice.
because you needed an intro that specifically speaks Chicago. And if there's anything that speaks Chicago, is somebody driving to Chicago that takes about 169 miles to get to.
Well, I thought it was the NASCAR track, that Lori was trying to put in.
That should be the official speed limit to the NASCAR if it comes to Chicago, 169 miles an hour.
We also have Constipational Conservative joining us. Yeah, out of a fictional vigilante over our Lord and Savior. Hey, you know what, Constipational Conservative? The Bible is proof of God, and Detective Comics is proof of Batman. So I'll just leave it there. Who else have we got in the live chat? We've got Kathy Powers, 2022. Hey, Kathy, welcome to the chat.
Hi, Kathy.
Kathy, hey, Kathy.
Leave it to Warren. My Lord Satan will be.
I love you, Warren.
Beastmaster X says if Batman attacked the things that made the people poor and what caused the poverty, he would be a real hero, but he just beats on the victims of capitalism and helps the system. That's often been an interesting debate in comic world, Beastmaster X. And
Well, it kind of sounds like a cop.
well, yeah, yeah. But it's always my fervent fantasy that he's really beating up the violent criminals that deserve the beating, and I also hope exposing the corrupt politicians. And I think that Batman has kind of had it out with corrupt cops as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Beastmaster, you do make a good point. But I will say this. I do think that Bruce Wayne probably contributes a lot more to combat poverty and to the jobs programs in Gotham City than Lex Luthor over in Metropolis. So if we're talking about good billionaires.
Batman set up a charity fund. I mean, come on. Bruce Wayne set up a charity fund so he could pay for all the damage he did as Batman.
That's true.
The Wayne Foundation.
Yeah.
But let's get to some real news now. And as we welcome, when I read this story, I couldn't help but think of my friend Constipational Conservative because I know how much he loves this guy. Darren Bailey, Republican gubernatorial candidate Darren Bailey, scaring off Chicago voters, shooting himself in the dick, insulting Chicago residents and citizens, not realizing how much the rest of the state actually is dependent on Chicago's economy. But we'll get to that in a moment. I actually have some good transitions set up here. So let me first go into our article as reported from Block Club Chicago and Kelly Bauer. Darren Bailey calls Chicago a hellhole again, and Chicagoans respond, this should work out really well for him. Despite Bailey's criticisms, the candidate for Illinois governor has made appearances in Chicago, even walking in last weekend's Bud Billiken parade on the south side, because of course he did. But the line did not land well with Chicagoans. Chicagoans are notorious for not obsessively loving their city, so this should work out well for him, one person sarcastically tweeted. Other Chicagoans responded by sharing photos that show the beauty in the city, making fun of Bailey for not knowing about Chicago or encouraging the politician to visit and help people impacted by problems in the city. One of the tweets that I saw today that was shared with me by Ed Heller. Is it a hellhole or hell-space hole asking for anyone who writes about Illinois politics? Anyway, let's go back to the article. So here's the interesting thing. Chicago is home to more than 20% of Illinois' people, making it a key battleground in statewide races. But Bailey is unlikely to see widespread support in Chicago, a traditionally Democratic stronghold, and it's not the first time the Republican gubernatorial candidate has taken aim at the city. I guess it's an easy target for him given the crime stats here, but it really doesn't represent the good people of our city. Bailey, a farmer who lives in downstate Xenia, it sounds like something from a Ron Hubbard science fiction novel, had previously backed an attempt state resolution that would have called for Chicago to become its own state apart from the rest of Illinois. He backtracked on that after announcing his gubernatorial bid, though he called Chicago a hellhole early in his campaign before Thursday's remark. Library school dropout shares on Twitter, Chicago, what a hellhole. After Darren Bailey, Illinois called Chicago a hellhole 2 times today, Axios Chicago asked the gubernatorial candidate if he thinks most Chicagoans view their home as a hellhole. Actually, I believe they do, he told me, because it's unsafe. That's his benchmark. Chicagoans are notorious for not obsessively loving their city, so this should work out well for him. That was part of the headline. And one other great one down here from Yale Scheinfeld. Hello, or hi, from hell. Darren Bailey saying that Chicago's a hellhole and everyone here hates it is wild because every Chicagoan I know will lose their shit if someone not from here says it isn't the greatest place on earth or get into arguments about what kind of pizza is best. So, here's one more. Definitely not a hellhole, Darren. All right, a lot of tweets about this, but let me get back to the article. Actually, a lot of tweets here before the article continues. I guess you can jump onto Twitter and see the resistance to Darren Bailey's. Actually, that was the end of the article. So let's go through some more of the tweets. Definitely not a hellhole, Darren. Darren called Chicago a hellhole 2 times today. Chicago asked the gubernatorial candidate if he thinks most Chicagoans view their home as a hellhole because it's unsafe. I would like to state for the record that I, a Chicagoan, do not view my home as a hellhole, no matter what this expired mayonnaise jar says. All right, so let's look at why his thoughts that Chicago should secede from the state of Illinois is probably a really bad idea in the long list of bad Republican ideas. And I'm going to start by running this video that comes to us from news channel ABC 20. Chicago splitting from Illinois would be an economic disaster. Here's why.
Republic Services believes in preserving
after we have to get past the advertisement. Oh, I hate when this happens. I'm always clicking the wrong buttons. Hang on, guys. All right, full screen.
Chance to tour the capital city in a North American B-25 Mitchell bomber. The plane, it was used in every branch of the... All
right, so clearly the videos that are embedded on these pages have nothing to do with the stories on the pages, although maybe if I reset it, it will. Yeah, because there's a picture of the city of Chicago there. Let's run it one more time. Stand by, everybody. I'm going to get this set up. In the meantime... All right, let's try it one more time.
Around Illinois is a question that pops up all the time. What would happen if Illinois split from Chicago? Well, that's the question researchers at Southern Illinois University Carbondale are asking in a new report. News Channel 20's Jacob Emerson is working for you tonight to break down the economic impact and what researchers say about splitting the state up like that. Jacob?
Yeah, John, the researchers' conclusion down in Carbondale is very simple. A split between Chicago and the rest of Illinois would spell economic disaster. The Chicago metropolitan area holds 75% of the state's population as well as economic input, meaning without it, the rest of Illinois would suffer greatly.
If you were out on the old state capitol plaza Tuesday afternoon in Springfield, you'd hear the sweet tunes of Frank Sinatra. The time of their life. His lyrics musing about the wonderful town of Chicago. Chicago, my home. The locals have a bit of a different perspective on the state's largest city.
Should Chicago split from the rest of Illinois?
Yes. And she's not alone in that answer. In last year's elections, 23 Illinois county boards asked voters directly if they want to divide the state between Chicago and everything else. It's a proposal researchers at SIU Carbondale decided to put to the test.
In downstate Illinois, and particularly in southern Illinois, there is the narrative that downstate is supporting Chicago. Obviously, the myth is just that. It's a clear myth.
John Jackson is one of those researchers. He says in reality, downstate and southern Illinois residents benefit the most from Chicago being a part of Illinois, and the numbers back that up. For every $1 Cook County residents send to the state in taxes, they receive 88 cents back in benefits. The Chicago suburbs only receive 58 cents. The 96 remaining downstate counties get back $1.70, and the southernmost 19 counties get back at least $2.88.
Partisanship is...
Can you pause it for a moment, Ed? But imagine that. It's the city of Chicago carrying the rest of those deadbeats down in the southern part of Illinois. I love this. Trying to win the Illinois governor's race by pissing off everyone in Chicago is a bold strategy for sure. Back to Ed's video. And, by the way, Ed, thanks for queuing that up for me.
That as well. It's cultural norms which overlap partisanship.
Jackson saying the state's residents should instead focus on what binds us all, not what divides us. The same holds true for many downstaters.
I think that we need to stay together.
If it does, Illinois would die. You know, we'd be kind of a lonely state.
Now, the researchers in Carbondale do acknowledge that there are less economic opportunities available down here in downstate compared to up north, which can cause resentment of some of those wealthier areas. Reporting live in Springfield, I'm Jacob Emerson. John.
Report that Illinois without Chicago.
Okay, so Ed, thanks again for queuing up that clip for me. For what the commercials on the other website tend to prevent us from running the video immediately because I queue everything up ahead of the show, and then when I'm ready to go to the show, I think the web pages are running the videos, pausing them, queuing up other things. So interesting, isn't it, guys?
If you think about it, there is something about Darren Bailey that just seems to be he's a very awkward candidate. Maybe you guys should just educate me if you guys happen to know anything about him. I personally don't know anything about him, which shows how disinterested I am in him being a candidate. And then on top of that, he just seems to be, and this is the other campaign ads against him that have been telling me that he's he's against abortion or women's rights, actually. He's also doesn't believe that, certain things about, the Holocaust, it's been brought up about that. So he just seems very awkward. And I think that he just really doesn't know how to connect with people or with the big picture. And when somebody asks him, do you think that the city of Chicago is a hellhole? He says, yeah, sure, it's a hellhole. And he is obviously trying to win voters over to get him elected. Okay, fine, I understand that. But really, let's face it, to call my home a hellhole, I'm sorry, but you don't come into somebody's home, look around, sit down, be treated as nice as you can be treated in somebody's home, and then say, hey, your house is a hellhole. That's not right. So that's my opinion about that. And that's what I think about him.
Before we go to what Mike's thoughts are, I want to share really quickly. I think that Bailey is basically another Bruce Rauner, just not as smart, given the way he's shooting himself in the foot here, not recognizing how much the rest of the state's economy relies on Chicago and using the politics of division between downstaters and Chicago, which is pretty much the economic engine of the state, to support the rest of the state, especially when you look at a map like this that shows what portion of the state is getting the most from the tax dollars everyone in the state is paying, despite the fact that most of the economy of the state is driven by what's happening in that little pink area. I want to also share something else from Twitter. Anyone calling Chicago a hellhole may need a primer on how the metro area is 80% of the state's economy, and city has a construction pipeline of $20 billion with 100 plus companies that moved or expanded here in 2022, creating 4,000 plus jobs. Hell hath no fury like a scorned Chicago. He's going to learn that at election time. Mike, please go ahead.
Well, yeah, to me, it just sounds like the Rick Perry, thing with Texas seceding from the Union. It's the standard Republican BS, just to ramp up more hate, just more division of people, just us against them, point your finger at your neighbor. It's their fault. Illinois wouldn't be as rich as it is without its port city, just like Oregon wouldn't be as rich as it is without Portland. It's ludicrous. We're in this together as a whole state. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It doesn't matter where you live in Illinois. You're all getting screwed by the 1%. It's the billionaires. They've taken over everything from our city councils to our federal government. And these are the people we need to call out, because these Republicans and these Democrats, they all respond to the DNC or the RNC, and those answer to the 1%. So whenever we talk to these politicians, we just need to ask them outright. So how much are you getting paid from Bill Gates Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. How much are you getting paid for your opinion? Because that's how America works.
Beastmaster X, here, amen. Mike speaking all facts. One other comment.
I'm just getting warmed up.
One other Twitter comment here. It's an interesting political strat. I keep saying one more just because I keep finding more that really, hammer at home what a dipshit this guy is in his strategy. It's an interesting political strategy to completely dismiss the largest city and biggest economic engine in the state that you're trying to run, using, as Mike just stated, the tribal politics of division. Republicans, Democrats, it's kabuki theater. It's two heads of the same serpent. Now, constitutional conservative claims it's not standard Republican BS. If Chicagoans really want to live in a safe city, Bailey will win. Pritzker care less about the bloody streets of Chicago. Constitutional conservative, I don't understand why you don't support today's neoliberal Democrats, because they're not really Democrats. We have two parties right now. We have the extreme right and the right being represented by the Democrats. Unless you're an evangelical wacko in the extreme right, all of your Reagan-era policies are pretty much being utilized or advanced by the current Democratic neoliberal party. So, until we actually see some real leftists leading us or representing us, constitutional conservative, I'm sorry, but you're listening to too much Mark Levin. That's my opinion.
If I can add something, especially to Mike's point about how, let's face it, you're right, lobbyists and the Republican Party. The Republican Party literally goes after the money to seek re-election. Maybe what they really should do is that they really need to kiss the ass of the poor in order for them to get fully and really well elected, because there's more poor than there are rich. But you know what is actually outnumbering the rich and outnumbering the poor? It's money. Money outnumbers both the poor and the rich. And whoever wants to be elected will go after wherever the money is. And let's face it, the reason why people are poor is because they don't have money. And the reason why politicians will never listen to the poor is because they don't have money. It's sad, but the truth is that we're always going to be victims of whatever policies are out there that will chase after the money, that will then be used to ignore the poor and the people that need any kind of support or any kind of benefits in order to survive this world.
Yeah, to add to that point, look through history. It's always the haves versus the have-nots. It's always the rich who sit at the top, make all the decisions for everyone else, despite what anyone else wants. It's always been that way. Our whole society is built on that.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. I agree.
Yeah, let me once again pull up this website that goes into more detail regarding what that news report stated about Chicago getting the least amount of money back from their taxes as opposed to the rest of the state. You can find it at farmweeknow.com. It is linked down in the show note description if you want to read more details on the stats. Bailey might want to go check out that link and reevaluate his campaign strategy going forward.
I wanted to ask a question real quickly to both of you. Do you think that Darren Bailey actually has a chance to win becoming governor of Illinois?
If Pritzker decides to run for president, maybe. Because I think Bailey's the only other name that people have heard of here in Illinois. I don't know what other gubernatorial candidates might step forward. Pritzker has not yet announced a run for president. But given the fact that, Joe Biden looks like he's got one foot in the grave, and Kamala Harris is by all, accounts, I think everybody's perception going to be an absolute utter disaster unless Hillary steps in and people think she might too. I think there's going to be a real fight for power within the Democratic Party if Biden doesn't run again or is unable to run again. And I think we're going to see Clinton think that she's got a shot. I think we're going to see a cat fight with her and Kamala. And we might also see Pritzker jump in. So yeah, to your question, Art, unfortunately, anything is possible. I never thought Bruce Rauner could win, but he had the money to do it. I guess we'll have to see if Bailey's got a lot of money to support his run to just outspend whoever else might run if Pritzker decides not to run again.
And unfortunately, anybody who happens to be a good Republican, like Liz Cheney, has just lost the primary, so she's on the outs.
Well, Liz Cheney is just she's just there to get the money. That's her whole job now.
I agree with that too.
I love what happened to Liz Cheney.
Absolutely. That woman she's a war criminal. She deserves it.
But isn't it interesting, Mike? Look at how the Democrats are circling her. Why? Because she hates Trump.
Yeah.
Well, I am no fan of Donald Trump, but today's the only qualification for membership in the Democratic Party is hate Trump. That's it. If you hate Trump, because Trump puts an ugly face on American politics, that's always been there. It's just the Democrats have been able to mask it better. And Trump, unfortunately, exposes how horrible they all are. And it's almost like a self-loathing. They don't want people to know how really bad they are. That's why they hate him. And that's I think, what fuels this fire in their bellies to just be Trump. With this Trump derangement syndrome. And again, that's not going to, I think Trump's a piece of shit. But we know the Republicans are pieces of shit. They expose that all the time. The problem is the Democrats pretend they're not. That's why we have to expose them and really advocate for the third parties we all desperately need.
Well, let's go back to Obama real quick. I mean, one of the biggest mass murderers out of the Democrats. Yeah. This guy killed more secondary targets. They ran out of bombs. They ran out of freaking bombs under Obama. He bombed so much. I mean, he was a literal tool for the military-industrial complex. This guy was perfect. He helped dismantle so many things in America. We don't have habeas corpus anymore. That was part of the Magna Carta. Yeah.
Let's also remember all of the cages that the kids were in were also built during Obama's tenure. So I'm queuing up our next story. And for everybody that screams what a horrible warmonger that Trump was, I think that Obama dropped more bombs than Trump during his administration.
Yep, killed way more people.
Yeah. All right, so let's transition into our next story here. I've got it lined up. Boy, this is really, really disturbing. Actually, I should probably start with the Block Club Chicago article that caught my attention regarding this story to begin with, because here in the city of Chicago, we have our beautiful Lakeshore Drive, as I call it. And along Lakeshore Drive is Lake Michigan, and down in what we call the Gold Coast, which is one of the nicest affluent areas of the city, we've got our lakefront, we've got our beaches, and we've got our harbor where routinely near Navy Pier is a section that's cordoned off where people with boats can dock in the water there. And it's every weekend, even on weekdays, you see parties in what's called the Playpen, where all the boats in Chicago dock. Now, you would think that there would be safety rules surrounding how people behave in the Playpen, what they can do or what they can't do, given the fact you've got, I don't know, like anytime maybe 70 boats or more in that area, and apparently people get off the boats and swim in the water. So this is the story that came to my attention that made me look more into it, and I'm horrified as we go into some news video. But a woman was hurt in the Playpen boating accident, launches a GoFundMe, will have lower legs amputated. Lana, and I can feel her pain, believe me. Lana Batachir, 34, was sucked into a boat's prop wash and nearly drowned Saturday after the vessel backed into her raft and the propeller hit her, officials said. I glanced at my legs and realized that both my legs were gone, she said. This is Lana with her family. This week, she launched a GoFundMe page to raise money for her significant medical expenses following the horrific weekend accident, because this mother of two is hoping to raise $250,000 as she undergoes the amputations, more surgery, a prolonged hospital stay, then rehabilitation and physical therapy. It still feels like a nightmare, Bhattacharya said. Bhattacharya was with another woman on the raft in the Playpen, a protected part of Lake Michigan between Oak and Ohio Street beaches around 5:15 p.m. Saturday, when a nearby boat malfunctioned while trying to set anchor, according to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources, which is investigating the incident. The boat's windlass stopped working properly and the boat began to drift, according to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. That's when the boat's 70-year-old captain tried to correct it by reversing, backing over the woman's floating raft. She wasn't even in the water. She was on a raft. But I do see people when I drive by, in the water around the boats. The two women were sucked into the boat's prop wash and were severely injured, according to the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. Everything happened so fast, Bhattacharya wrote in her GoFundMe post. We were all under his boat within seconds. The boat's propeller struck me, leaving me with unimaginable pain. I thought I was dying. Bhattacharya then began to drown until her husband pulled her out of the water, she said. This is horrifying. My husband truly saved my life when pulled me out of the water to keep me from drowning, Bhattacharya said. As I was getting pulled out of the boat, I glanced at my legs and realized that both my legs were gone. So she was bleeding out. Bhattacharya and the other women were taken to Northwestern Memorial Hospital for treatment. The other woman suffered a serious injury to her hand. Doctors have told Bhattacharya her legs will have to be amputated below the knees, and she must undergo targeted muscle reinnervation nerve surgery, she said. Anyone who knows me knows that I love dance, love music, and enjoying life itself with family, Bhattacharya said. My life has completely changed because of one unfortunate tragedy. Bhattacharya said she has no health insurance, so she's crowdfunding to cover her medical bills. Ed, can you bring up her GoFundMe to put it in the chat while I continue this story? Thank you. Still, Bhattacharya said she feels very lucky to be alive and looks forward to being able to walk again with prosthetic legs. I thought I would die. I'm grateful I will be able to hug and kiss my kids, my husband, my family, and my friends. I will get through this and come out stronger with my new lifestyle. I have so much to live for and will do my best to be positive and accept my circumstances, Bhattacharya continued. This tragedy is not going to break me. You can donate to Bhattacharya's fundraiser here. Let me see if I can bring up that link. Put it in the chat. You've got it. Thank you, Ed. I'm also going to pull that up in our window here so you can check out the fundraiser. Well, thank heavens. She's so far raised about $139. She's just shy of $140,000. Now, I can tell you all, a prosthetic limb for one leg above the knee will run you about, without insurance, $50,000. And that's developed, by the way, with taxpayer money in the Defense Department to service our vets. And then when the companies that get all the taxpayer money to do all that R&D for prosthetic limbs to service our vets, they then sell them to the rest of us for $50,000 a pop, despite the fact they've been subsidized by our tax dollars. Now, I've railed about it endlessly. I'm on Medicare, thankfully. And when I had to replace my prosthetic limb 2 years ago, I believe my copay was $7,000 out of a $24,000 bill, because Medicare negotiates with the insurance companies or the prosthetic limb companies. They know what the real costs are on this. The reason that everybody else is paying huge sums of money is because, regular insurance companies are accepting these jacked up rates. All I can say is that she's going to need every amount of money, every dollar that she can raise for her rehabilitation and her prosthetic limbs, given the fact she doesn't have health care. And that just speaks to the sad state of affairs in the United States that we don't have Medicare for all. This should not be an issue. Look, clearly, even if she had any contributory negligence whatsoever in this incident, which she didn't, nobody should have to face the bills that this woman's going to have to face to walk again and go through her rehab. Now, the U.S. Coast Guard is looking for witnesses who saw the accident as the investigation continues with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. According to a press release, no charges or citations have been filed against the boat's captain. However, there was dramatic video captured of the accident that was released by NBC5 Chicago. So let's run that video as they give us an update. And by the way, I also want to credit from Blog Club Chicago for the original article. That was by Jake Wittich. But let's go to the NBC5 video.
video and new details on a boating accident in Lake Michigan. This happened Saturday in the waters north of Navy Pier, a popular area known as the Playpen. 2 women were seriously injured when a boat backed up into them on a floating raft. NBC5's Natalie Martinez live tonight at the lakefront with the latest on the investigation. Natalie.
Stephen and Allison, we are just south of Ohio Street Beach, and just beyond that is where the Playpen is that you're talking about, and that is also where these 2 women were so severely injured. We're learning one had a 9-hour surgery, I should say, on her injured hand. New cell phone video gives us an idea of what it was like in the Playpen Saturday around 5 p.m.
Strange to see this guy backing up. You just don't back up to the Playpen. It's just not right. You just know there's people swimming in the water everywhere. It's just a dangerous thing. I'm like, nothing good's going to come out of this.
Ted Wyden was among so many here watching, not yet sure what was happening.
And kept going and going until he crashed into the lily pad and that boat. I thought they were friends. I thought they were just backing up in order to do a back-to-back tie-up. It's nothing I've ever seen in Lake Michigan.
There's a boat accident in the Playpen, a white 2-level sea ray.
There were 6 to 8 individuals on a flotation raft, and while they were on that raft, another boat reversed into them, sucking them right underneath their boat.
One woman had both feet severed.
We threw the victim over our shoulders and transported that victim onto our boat.
They're bringing that person into our Navy Pier.
Another woman had a severe hand injury, and that's where this amphibious boat came in handy. Wyden's work partner was showcasing what the military-type boat can do when he happened upon the scene.
Mark just happened to show up in the right place, the right time, and he saw what was going on, and she was driving after her husband, drowning the husband. And so he was going under. Mark realized what's going on. He pulled up right next to him, killed the engine, and was able to pull him up.
Now, I want to address something really quickly in the chat. Kathy Powers, won't insurance cover it? She didn't have insurance.
Yeah, no insurance.
And when you also ask, there must be a lawsuit in this? Yes. And Kathy, do you know how long that lawsuit will go before
5,
it's
6,
settled,
7 years
before it's settled for less than what it should be awarded? Yeah. Thank you, Art. How long?
Yeah. 5, 7 years, maybe.
Yeah, my lawsuit against the CTA for the loss of my leg took 5, 6 years, and then it settled for far less than everybody estimated. It should have been awarded for it because it was a limb case. They just wanted to shuffle it off the table because they wanted to spend more time on the cases. Well, and they should spend more time on cases with people that had far more grievous injuries than mine, who are stuck in wheelchairs for the rest of their lives. However, when you realize that even the bean counters and law firms are not always serving their clients as best they should, given their resources and what they have to spend to get the proper amount of money, it's rather shameful.
Yeah, my personal injury, I was hit by a cop when I was 17, a retired sheriff deputy. The guy hit me when I was in a crosswalk at about 40 miles an hour. It took me about 5 years to settle my case. So, yeah.
That's the issue, Kathy. When you say, don't the boats have insurance? They might, but it's going to take this woman probably 6 to 7 years, or between 5 and 7 years for it to hit the court docket and then either go to court or be settled. So she's looking at all the time she's got to spend between now and then for her rehab and the prosthetic limbs that she's going to need once they complete the surgeries that are going to help fix all the damage that was done.
Not to mention all the collection calls.
Before she could even put on the prosthetic limbs.
Isn't it also kind of tragic that nowadays anybody in the country who has this tragedy that besets them, and we're talking about anything, any kind of tragedy, in order for anyone to try and survive, they now have to ask people to help them. I mean,
everybody's health issue. GoFundMe was supposed to help projects and minor emergencies. GoFundMe is basically everybody who can't afford insurance anymore, their go-to to help with their medical emergencies and crises and tragedies and disasters.
Yeah, and this is a pretty sore subject for me.
Right. It's happened throughout floods. It's happened through like earthquakes and stuff like that, where essentially everybody says, well, when this thing happened to me, I didn't have anything. Nobody really has anything nowadays, to be honest with you. And then they have to say, can you help me out? And not only are they asking whoever they know, they're asking strangers, and God bless the strangers who give them some money. But let's face it, those strangers themselves probably don't have a lot to give them. You know,
we
so,
have to beg. We
Look
have
what
to
yeah.
beg for health care.
Look what Ed just shared with us too. The state of Illinois does not require boat owners to purchase insurance. So Kathy, she might be SOL.
shit.
But Mike, I'd like you to share what you were just getting to regarding your circumstances. I think they're just as relevant.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, my brother is dying from cancer. He has stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and there's nothing we can do for it.
Tell us why. Tell us why, even though there is a party that should be. That should. Oh no, that was your. Well, you told me before the show. Was that your brother was also, wasn't it your brother who was also in the service that was affected by the fact they weren't?
No, my mother was. My mother served.
I'm sorry, I mixed up the stories. But go into that story too.
Yeah, my mother was a crew chief in the Air Force. She was exposed to all kinds of chemicals, jet fuel, you name it. She ended up developing leukemia and died of it. It was pretty bad. We had to do home hospice, and it was insanely expensive. We had to sue. It was a nightmare. My brother, I'm pissed because he couldn't get steady healthcare for his entire life.
Was it because of a pre-existing condition that they denied him before, or was it?
No, pancreatic cancer, it's one of those things, if you don't get screened regularly through your life, it sneaks up on you, and you don't know about it until you feel the pain. You know, stage 1 and stage 2 of pancreatic cancer, you don't even know. You know, you don't feel anything, and it's not until you hit about stage 3 or stage 4 you start feeling the pain. Steve Jobs had pancreatic cancer. He survived 7 years, but he was a billionaire, and he was stage 4. My brother, he's not a billionaire. My brother's poor. So, yeah.
My brother's godfather, Stash Agnos, may he rest in peace. He had, that's the first encounter our family had with pancreatic cancer amongst our closest family members. I recall Uncle Stash coming to visit me at the hospital after I lost my leg, and he wasn't sick yet, but it was like after I got out of the hospital, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and I think he was gone within like 6 or 7 months. That's how fast. My friend Richard Hatch, the late great actor Richard Hatch of Battlestar Galactica, passed from pancreatic cancer. Took him really fast. So, unfortunately, it's an insidious disease if you're not screened. My Uncle John also, sadly, was struck with pancreatic cancer.
And it's amazing how fast you just waste away.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother was a big guy, and it's.
Now, getting back to our story, lest you think that this was an isolated incident. Nope. This story broke, I think, a day after the story about the lady who just lost her legs. Sorry, I'm bringing it up here in my browser. This comes to us from the Chicago Tribune. Catherine Rosenberg Douglas on the 18th. Man pulled from Montrose Harbor hours after 2 people fell from a boat near Lake Michigan. Playpen identified death marks, 3rd apparent drowning in 3 days. The body of a 38-year-old Chicago man was pulled from the water near Montrose Harbor earlier Thursday, hours after the second boating accident in a week in the party-friendly area of Lake Michigan known as the Playpen. I think that we need to start calling it the death pen. Because this is not. So I just came across these stories this week, and the reason they're suddenly like in the news is because of the woman who lost her legs. But I have a friend who used to spend time in the Playpen on some boats with her friends. Or you know who I'm talking about. And she shared with me, oh no, these kind of things have been happening for years. This is what we're seeing right now is not the first time we're seeing fatalities and injuries and horrible tragedies happening in the Playpen. And after I read this news story, we'll get into why or what's not being done. It wasn't immediately clear whether the man pulled from the water near the harbor at 12:22 a.m. was the same person who'd been missing after 2 people fell from a boat in the Playpen around 7 p.m. Wednesday night. Chicago police said the agency was not able to confirm any connection between the two cases. However, a police spokesman said officers from the Marine unit resumed its search for the missing man Thursday morning. A man's body was located soon after emergency responders were called to the 200 block of West Montrose Drive for a report of a body in the water. According to Chicago police, the man had been pulled from the water by Chicago Fire Department personnel, police said, and he was taken to Weiss Hospital in Uptown, where he was pronounced dead at 2:13 a.m., according to information from the Cook County Medical Examiner's office. He later was identified as Francisco Gonzalez, 38, of the 6400 block of North Bell Avenue, according to Brittany Hill, a spokeswoman for the Medical Examiner's office. The Montrose Harbor call came in a little more than 5 hours after two people reportedly fell from a boat in an area known as the Playpen, a party-friendly area of Navy Pier, north of Navy Pier, where boats are often anchored and people swim in the lake. Near the Hardin Water Filtration Plant, just before 7 p.m., the Chicago Police Marine Unit responded to reports that two people fell into the water for an unknown reason. It did not seem as if the boat they had been on collided with another boat or stationary object, and it was not clear what caused the two men to fall from the vessel. One man quickly was located in the water, and he was taken to shore and then to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in critical condition, according to Chicago Police media notification. But the search for the second missing person had remained in progress at least as of 8:40 p.m. Wednesday. It was not clear if or when the search for that person had been called off before the Montrose Harbor call, with a police spokesman declining to answer questions about the Marine Unit's Wednesday search for the missing boater. The spokesman also did not say at what time the search resumed Thursday morning. Gonzalez was the second person in as many days to be pulled from the lake in Chicago, and the third body pulled from Lake Michigan this week. Luis Alberto Davila Vera, 43, of the 1000th block of West 15th Street, died Wednesday morning after being pulled from Lake Michigan near Diversey Harbor, authorities said. Chicago police classified the case as a death investigation. The Chicago Fire Department said it appeared he slipped and fell into the harbor, suggesting an accidental drowning unrelated to the Playpen, although his cause of death has not yet been determined by Cook County Medical Examiner's office. That agency was expected to perform an autopsy Thursday. Now, many, many more references in this article to other Lake Michigan fatalities, but I want to bring your attention to this article that I had to find on a Canadian website, because I started searching around and just like, all right, so based on these articles and what my friend told me that this has been going on for a while, I started Google searching, well, what are the safety regulations for the Playpen? Apparently there aren't any.
No.
And as this News of Canada reports, not News of Chicago, to be fair, maybe other Chicago media outlets are just slow to reporting this, or this was sourced from an online news reference that I couldn't find and shared on News of Canada. So this is reported. There's no source for the reporter, but authorities said Thursday that no new safety regulations were needed for the Lake Michigan box. I think they mean the Playpen, but instead emphasized personal responsibility as police continued their search for a man who reportedly fell from a boat Wednesday night at the party-friendly water sports hotspot at the beach, south of Oak Street Beach. The accident happened days after a woman lost her legs when she was sucked under the propeller of a reversing boat in the same area. Now, I just reported on the other man who was found. This article or this opinion piece or report on the fact that it's all about personal responsibility apparently was reported somewhere before that. At a press conference at the town's lake, police said they are still looking for a black man about 27 years old who was last seen wearing a red shirt and white shorts after allegedly falling from a boat near Hardin Water Purification Plant. We just shared that story. With crowds expected during this weekend's Chicago Air and Water Show and the upcoming Labor Day weekend, officials are asking boaters, swimmers, and other water recreationists to take responsibility and stay safe while enjoying the lake. The water will be patrolled this weekend by the Chicago Police Department's Naval Unit, the Chicago Fire Department, the U.S. Coast Guard, and the State Department of Natural Resources, said Naval Unit Commander Lieutenant Commander Tony Mendez. However, guys, what the fuck? You can put some rules in place that if this has been happening for years. Clearly, several stories basically dominated the news cycle this week. And no, just personal responsibility. It doesn't matter. You want to jump off a boat around boats with propellers running or be on a little raft behind a boat that can possibly back up into you. No sweat as long as you take personal responsibility. We want everyone to come to the lake and have fun, but we don't want them mixing alcohol there, Mendez said. Alcohol and water are not a good combination. We want to emphasize that. Okay, so how are you prohibiting and preventing that from happening? One other thing, Mendez wouldn't say whether alcohol was involved when two people fell from a boat on Wednesday, but he said watergoers being aware of their own safety is his main concern regarding the Playpen. Quote, we want to make sure people have the right boating equipment on their boats, fire extinguishers, personal flotation devices. We want to make sure that the captains and owners of the boat and everyone on the boat know who is on the boat. We are responsible for each other. People can easily fall off if you're not careful. Art, what was the mayor's name in Amity Island in Jaws?
Oh, you know what? I've never really remembered what the name of the mayor was. I always called him the mayor. I usually call him by the actor's name that portrayed the mayor, which was Murray Hamilton.
Mayor Vaughn.
Okay.
Yeah, Larry Vaughn. This guy Mendez sounds like Larry Vaughn. There's nothing to see here. Just be careful. Go in the water. Have a good time. Don't drink. We're not going to do anything to protect anybody from clear safety hazards. It's all on you. We trust you.
Just give us your money. That's all.
What's actually kind of terrible is that maybe, just maybe, and I do mean this sincerely, is that maybe they took the lady out of the water after her legs had been amputated in the boating accident, and somebody must have looked at her and said, "This is no boating accident."
Well, here's an interesting fact.
We know there are no sharks in fresh water in lake water though, Art. But go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
My grandmother, she also grew up in Chicago, and she used to tell me about the Great Lake burn-offs. It's how we got the EPA. Chemical companies just used to dump in the Playpen and everywhere else, and every year they just burn it so that way it'd burn off the top of the water, and they do that every year.
Yeah.
My grandmother told me about it. She's like, yeah, we used to swim in it. And oh, yeah.
I wonder. I mean, I understand that when you get together with your friends and you go to Indiana Dunes or you go to the park or you go to somebody's house, and there are no set rules when you get together with your friends and you just have a good time. And then something tragic or something stupid happens. And everybody says, that could have been prevented, that shouldn't have happened. But the reason why it happened is because it could have been an accident or it could have been something that happened because somebody got drunk. And there's no way of predicting how something is going to happen, what tragedy might happen because of whatever reason.
Well, but the other question was, where's the buoys?
Yeah, but that's the thing. That's the point. And that is
what's the other question, Mike?
Where were the buoys?
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Where are the buoys? Actually, let me get into that really quickly because you did bring that up before the show. Now, according to the article from the newsofcanada.net, where was it? I just saw it. Okay. So boats are still allowed in the Playpen before and during this weekend's Air and Water Show, Mendez said. There is a restricted area just outside the Playpen marked by buoys, and the areas will be patrolled to ensure they remain clear during the show. But I think this is an issue, whether they've got buoys or not. People should not be swimming around boats within that buoyed area. That's the issue, I think. If anybody in the live chat knows what I do about the Playpen, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. That's the reason why you can't predict what's going to happen. When you do something like that, where you jump and you're right in the water, there's a bunch of other boats riding around, and a lot of them have got motors. And let's face it, motors are dangerous. You just can't predict what's going to happen to you. And I mean, this is tragedy. This is tragic what happened to this woman and what happened to that man that drowned. But yeah, you would think that there would be a set of rules. But I think that the reason why there is no rules is because to set rules in something like that just makes too much sense and too much logical sense. And nobody really has that sense anymore to do something that can help people out, even when it comes to preventing tragedies.
Well, once again, I'm putting up the link for why can't I? God, my vision, guys! I got to put on the Clark Kent. No, those are the Blues Brothers glasses. Where am I? Here's my reading glasses. Lana bought a chair. There's her GoFundMe. If you can, and I'm going to. I just haven't done it yet. If you can afford to throw a few bucks towards her GoFundMe, I hope you can. Let's help this woman. It's an awful tragedy, and I just hope she's able to recover as best that she can, get the financial support, psychological support. That's a whole other readjustment for anybody that loses a limb.
Well, yeah, and in the article it said she loved to dance.
Yeah,
you know, she's gonna have to change her whole freaking life around. My grandfather was an amputee, so yeah, I know how much work goes into that. It's a horrible experience.
And not only that, but they had footage of her husband right after the whole thing had happened, and that man was falling apart. I saw that when it originally aired on the air, and I thought to myself, God, he must feel horrible, because at some point, even he must have been like, come on, honey, let's go enjoy the day. And then this happened. He must feel extremely guilty. Look, I don't want to talk about that, about what people feel, but they obviously don't feel good about what happened. Nobody.
He's definitely going to need therapy too.
He's traumatized too. He managed to save her life. He managed to save her life, but it's going to be a long road to recovery.
Yeah, but that's terrible. It breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I need some of this.
Good luck to her, and good luck to her. And I hope that, I mean, who knows? Maybe we have to lobby for this. Maybe we have to advocate for more rules regarding this area of Lake Michigan where there aren't enough rules to protect people.
And you know what? I think one of the things that has to be done, and I think it may happen, but I don't know, there will be universal health care for every citizen in the United States, but that's also a long road ahead. I don't even think it's going to happen during our lifetime, Jerry.
No. We've been fighting that fight for 100 years, over 100 years, actually. Over 100 years.
Yeah.
So 3-4 generations have been fighting for healthcare and still haven't gotten it.
One of the only benefits I have from having lost my leg is that I have Medicare. I mean, I didn't have Medicare originally. I was 20 years old when it happened. I was covered by my mom's policy because I was still living with her. I was under 21. And even then, it was like pulling teeth with Blue Cross Blue Shield to fight all of the different, roadblocks they wanted to. But she had Cadillac Healthcare because she was a surgical nurse. So I was very, very lucky.
Well, 20 years ago, Jerry, we had HMOs.
Yeah. That too. All right, guys. So we're going to transition into our next segment into a new segment that I am opening tonight and launching tonight. Cop Watch.
I look at this town and I don't like what I see anymore.
Cop Watch, now live.
I know constipational conservatives going to love this segment too, being what a bootlicking authoritarian cop lover he is. Let me quickly go into the comments. I think I got some catching up to do here. If there was a few other, let's see here. By the time we get Medicare for all, Kathy, well, don't say that. Yeah. All right, so let's go into Cop Watch here. So for the handful of cops that we know and hope are good, we've got knuckleheads like this. This came to us from CWB Chicago. Given how much money is being shoveled to cops in overtime, you'd think they could get to a crime scene faster? No. Chicago police took more than 20 minutes to arrive after a driver killed 3 and wounded 2 outside a Jeffrey pub. Around 4:35 a.m. Sunday, a caller told Chicago 911 operators that a man just threatened people inside the Jeffrey pub and walked out saying he was going to his car to get a gun. But no officers were ever dispatched to handle that call because the local police district had no cops available. I wonder if they were covering film sets for Chicago. I think it was Chicago Fire. We reported last week that there are cops who are being taken off their beats to go provide security for the movie and film crews who are here in Chicago. No officer dispatched to handle that call because the police district had no cops available. In fact, there was already a long list of other calls for help ahead of it, all waiting. About 25 minutes after that call from Jeffrey Pub, 911 callers were... Okay, so you know what? I can't blame the cops. I can blame the dispatcher and whoever the watch commander was that they didn't have enough cops on duty to respond to emergencies like this. 911 callers reported a fight in the street in front of the bar. Then within moments, a flood of 911 calls came in. A speeding driver had just plowed through a group of men who were fighting in the street. 3 of them died, 2 were injured. Yet, according to the dispatch records, it took the Chicago Police Department at least 20 more minutes to get its first police officers on the scene. EMS arrived on the scene long before police. Crowd was rowdy. EMS had to remove the bodies and took them to the University of Chicago Medical Center before CPD even showed up, a witness said in a message shortly after the horrifying attack. On Monday, CPD's chief of detectives confirmed that the driver appeared to hit the men intentionally, and he said it seemed to be linked to a disturbance that began inside the pub. Remember, guys, they called from inside the pub. It's not known yet if that disturbance is related to the 911 call about a man going to his car to get a gun. Isn't that police work? It's not yet.
What does that mean? It's hinky. Oh, strange. Weird. Why don't you say strange or weird? Or hinky, that has no meaning. We say hinky. I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
Sunday's untimely police response is not unusual, nor is it a new problem. And while CPD leaders insist that they are sending more and more cops to local districts, there's little evidence to support their claims. For example, Jeffrey Pub, one of the city's oldest gay bars, is at 7041 South Jeffrey Boulevard in CPD's Grand Crossing 3rd District. Since David Brown became Chicago's police superintendent in April of 2020, Grand Crossing has lost 25% of its officers, according to city data. It had 372 cops when Brown started. There are 279 today. In preparation for this story, we asked CPD for input about Sunday's response and Brown's previous statements that delayed responses are normal. Due to the ongoing investigation, the police department said in a statement, "We have no further comment at this time." Assault in progress. The first hint of trouble at Jeffrey Pub came around 4:37 a.m. on Sunday when a Chicago police dispatcher broadcast an assault in progress call from someone at the bar. A 911 caller described the man who was threatening the staff and patrons and was walking north on Jeffrey after saying he was going to get a gun from his vehicle. Listen.
For the Unity 3 and citywide assault in progress, 7041 South Jeffrey.
11 minutes later.
7041 South Jeffrey at the Jeffrey Pub. The anonymous caller says that there's a male black with a white shirt, blue jeans, threatening the staff and patrons of that bar. He said that he's going to his vehicle to get a gun. No weapon seen. Offender walking on the west side of the street going northbound on Jeffrey. Nothing further. Third District, Zone 7.
11 minutes later, the police dispatcher read off a list of every 911 call in the Grand Crossing district, waiting for an officer to become available. It took her a full minute to read them all. About 47 seconds in, the call at Jeffrey Pub was mentioned.
Constant time 0448. And for the Unity 3, we have a check to well-being, 6243 South Drexel. Person with a gun, 417 to 423 East 62nd. Person with a gun at the 6200 block of South Road. Noise complaint, 6500 block of South Minerva. Domestic battery, 70 Department 1. Domestic battery, South Cornell. Domestic 1474. We got 8 calls on that one in the last.
Okay, you get the idea. No officers became available, and at 4:59 a.m., the dispatcher radioed details of a new call at Jeffrey's Pub's address. There were 20 people fighting outside. The 911 caller said about 2 minutes later, she read out another call. This time, a caller said someone had a gun outside the bar. It could possibly be linked to that earlier call about someone saying someone was leaving the bar to go to their car to get a gun. Why isn't it playing?
For the Unity 3 and citywide, person with a gun related to the battery in progress at 7041 South Jeffrey.
Then at 5:03.
Caller says that someone has a gun, waiting on details to follow. Third District, Zone 7.
Thankless job for that woman. Then at 5:03 a.m., the dispatcher reported multiple calls of a vehicle striking people in the street outside of Jeffrey Pub. Someone was lying on nearby train tracks. She later said no officers responded, but an officer in the Grand Crossing District's intelligence room pulled up a police camera feed around 5:10 a.m. and confirmed 2 people were laying in the middle of the street. Moments later, he described what happened. People were fighting in the street when a silver sedan struck them all. CWB Chicago shared that horrifying video on Sunday. Here we go. Viewer discretion is at. Give it a moment to load. Remember, guys,
it's the
millions of
internet.
dollars going to police overtime, millions of dollars going to the police department. And that's, here we go. Here's the response time. Jesus. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
There you go. Chicago's finest on the job.
Well, Jerry, if I can just say something, okay? And, okay, look, a fight between people happens right away, like right there on the spot. You really can't stop people from fighting if you can try and stop them from fighting to begin with. But they fight right there and then on the spot, like instantly. And then somebody decides to call the cops because these two people are fighting and they're going to hurt each other, or they're going to kill each other, or they're going to hurt other people around them. Well, yes, the police need to respond. But even I know that the police are not going to be there instantly. And even I know that
Art, 20-minute response time, though, with several warnings to the dispatcher, this shit's going to hit the fan. And the police department is not staffed adequately, despite all of the money being diverted to CPD all the time to make us safer.
Jerry, I know that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But this is what the circumstances are going to create because of that understaffing, the fact that all of that has been happening, and the fact that people are fighting. People who are right there and then on the spot, people who own the business or are regular citizens, are going to see this fight and they're going to want to get involved. And they're going to want to actually stop somebody from getting hurt. And unfortunately, then what happens is that more people get hurt. And then finally, when the police do arrive, then they have to look around, see the aftermath, and they say, oh, well, we should have been here a lot sooner. But we have our reasons for not getting here sooner. And whatever reasons they may have, okay, fine. But the fact of the matter is that it's all of this is just circumstances that are not helping anybody out. The understaffing, the angry people, the people who just want to continue to hurt people. It's just going to constantly grow and grow and grow. And there are no solutions to this. I really don't see any solution to this.
There is a solution. There is a solution.
There could be that was a bad neighborhood. They were afraid for their lives. Additionally, Kathy also shares they don't show up in neglect areas. Lincoln Park has priority. And she's right. That's where all the money goes to, those police departments, the affluent white neighborhoods. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Mike.
and I'm also assuming that if a cop... I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Well, like I said, there is a solution to fix this. There absolutely is. We defund the slave-catching cops. That's where they came from. That's where the organization came from, American Slave Catchers. We defund these cops, and then we start putting the money into actual social programs like mental health care, like Medicare for all, community programs that help you find work like they used to do back in the old days in Chicago. Yeah.
The New Deal.
My grandparents grew up in the Great Depression in Chicago.
Yeah, but that would make too much sense and too much. It would just be too logical, and it would make too much sense to actually do that.
Lori Lightfoot spends a bunch of money on Porkville for the cops, so they can sit there, Bacon Town, whatever, so they can have more cops to protect the billionaires' properties and put the fear on the people.
It's also the truth that a lot of cops that are working cops right now, they just want to make it to the next 10 years whenever they have to retire. Because let's face it, a cop wants to stay alive. And the last thing that they want to do is they want to put themselves in a situation where they think, oh, I'm going to get hurt or I'm going to get killed tonight. I know that cops probably think that.
That's the thing. My grandfather, he came from Chicago, and the one thing he told me when I was 6 years old, he pointed right at a cop and he said, you see that pig over there? You don't ever trust a cop. Because a cop, they're just going to arrest you, they're going to steal your property, and then they're going to lock you away and make you a slave.
And protect property. I want to address Constipational Conservatives' comment in the live chat below. Cops are afraid to do their jobs because the 99% that are good, 99%, did you guys know 99% of cops are good, are lobbed in with the dirty 1%. You know, if the 99% of good cops dropped the dime on the 1%, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Sadly, those whatever percentage of good cops there are, by virtue of their silence, are guilty, are complicit in the guilt. So, constitutional conservative.
No, I'm just getting warmed up. This is such a crock of shit.
You stupid, ignorant son of a bitch, dumb bastard! Jesus Christ, I've met some dumb bastards in my time, but you outdo them all. Get over there!
Oh, one more time. We don't have enough cop manpower because of BS attacks and leadership, and the ones left are working overtime.
Hey, don't worry. Biden is going to staff 100,000 more cops from coast to coast. He's already doing it.
Yeah. So you should be happy, constitutional conservative, because Biden's on the job. He's going to take care of that.
And don't worry, the 13th Amendment made sure slavery would stay legal in America. So that way the prison slave system will keep chugging along.
Yeah. Constitutional conservative, Jerry. That's sad. Shows you are strong beliefs are. I'm sorry. I'm not. The syntax is a little bit off. I wasn't clear what you were saying, Kathy. But constitutional conservative, cops are slave catchers. Okay, I'm logging off now because this conversation is extremely unserious. Great job bringing on a guy that lives in Arizona talking about Chicago and eliminating police. All right, so let's take a step back here. Cops as slave catchers. Let's, in all seriousness, constitutional conservative. Do you even have an idea what the origins are of the United States' police department? I'm going to pass it to Mike to explain so we can understand what it's evolved into. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, long time ago, back before America was a country, we used to bring black people over here to start building things for us. And we didn't give them a choice. Now, some of them would run away from their slave owners, and they needed people, usually poor, desperate people who could barely read and write, to go and catch these guys. And they started forming a culture around this. So, yeah, they started calling them cops. So welcome to American policing. That's where it's based in. That's the roots of American policing.
Started as slave catchers. Now they protect the property of the rich.
Yeah.
And enforce drug laws. And imprison people for the private prison, what do we call it? The
private
industry.
Prison industry.
Private prison industry. Yeah. Which also gets a lot of funding from our government. We got to make sure to keep our prisons full. Let me go back to the article, though, and wrap that up before we go into our second story in Cop Watch. So on Monday, there were a couple more police calls. You can listen to those, or dispatcher calls. You can listen to them in the show notes linked below. On Monday, CPD Chief of Detectives Brendan Denahan told reporters that the department is actually looking for some help at this point. CPD records show the police classified the case as reckless homicide about 20 minutes later, suggesting the department quickly understood that it was not dealing with an accident. There are a lot of people that were inside the bar prior to this occurring, and we definitely believe that there's individuals who actually want to give us that information to name the suspect. Denahan confirmed that police found the car that hit the men just a few blocks from Jeffrey Pub on Sunday morning. Registration check, license plate check. Maybe the driver pulled the plates from the car. There's still got to be a registration on the dashboard. They can cross-link with the state of Illinois unless this was a stolen vehicle. He encouraged anyone with information to call detectives. I don't understand why they need anyone to call. Yeah, it could probably help, but this car's got to be linked to somebody that they found abandoned. A normal Saturday night. In early June of last year, Brown bristled when a reporter asked him during a press conference about staffing shortages. The reporter read off a list of radio transmissions she heard in which police dispatchers or officers indicated that there weren't enough cops to handle situations over the just ended weekend. Then she asked for Brown's response. Do you have a question? Brown snapped. My question is there a shortage of manpower? That's a normal Saturday night everywhere in the country, Brown volleyed. He then blamed COVID restrictions at the police academy for the department's dwindling headcount. As he spoke, the Chicago Police Department had 12,297 officers. This month, there are 11,611. So, as my friend Kit likes to say, there you go.
Well, if I can just say something once again about
Please.
cops. First of all, I don't. They're in a tough job. I know this. I happen to have a family member who is a police officer, and she is shorter than me, and she's, someone that I can never actually can imagine her putting herself in danger and take down somebody who's twice her size. But the fact of the matter is that she's doing this, and she has her principles and her standards, and she has her courage that she obviously has to feed off of in order to get through a work day. So I always hope and I always pray that nothing will ever happen to her. But the fact of the matter is that when terrible things are constantly happening to the citizens of Chicago, and the police officers cannot maintain any semblance of safety for those citizens, that just means that something is wrong. And it means that if we've had many years of this kind of pattern and no solution since then I really don't think there's a way to save the situation. But at the same time, the only hope that I have is that nobody gets hurt. And that's just wishful thinking. Everyone now, I think, is going to get hurt. I'm sorry, but like I said to you once before, Jerry, we're all going to be victims, including the cops. They become victims themselves.
Well, yeah, we're victims of our society.
Yeah.
I mean, we really are.
It depresses me.
Look, I have no doubt that there are good cops out there, and I always have to parse these stories that we do with that caveat. I know that there are. I know one personally, thankfully, a friend of the show. And
most of my family served in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot
there
of people
are good ones out there. My big problem is the fact that I guess they're overwhelmed with the bad ones. What we just reported on regarding this response didn't have as much to do with the officers as it has to do with management and the dispatch. And
and what you just said about Brown, because Brown is an asshole. I'm sorry, but that chief of police, Brown, is a fucking asshole. I'm sorry, but he is.
I'm just getting the next story queued up. Going back. So hold on. Let me get us prepped for our next story in our new ongoing segment called
I look at this town, and I don't like what I see anymore.
Top Watch, now in color.
So this one got me. So, I constantly text debate a constitutional conservative because I know who he is and he knows who I am. And he's constantly telling me I got to go easier on the cops because there are good cops out there. Okay, yeah, so great. I shared this story with him. Yeah, another one of the good ones, huh? Chicago cop charged after video shows him pinning down a teen in front of a Park Ridge Starbucks. The Chicago police, he's one of the good ones, constitutional conservative. This comes out of Park Ridge, Illinois. A Chicago police sergeant has been charged after he was captured on video pinning a teen to the ground in Park Ridge.
What did the teen do?
Well, we're going to get to that. I was actually clicking to see if I could find the video. I guess it was published on TMZ. Let me bring that up real quick and see if I can find that video.
I got a quick question while you're bringing it up, Jerry.
Go right ahead.
Didn't you have a cop a couple years ago tase a student in a school in Chicago?
Yes!
Years back about a cop doing that.
I don't recall that story, Mike, but I would not be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be surprised either.
Well, I saw it on HLN.
Yeah, so actually, wow, leave it to TMZ to have the video. Let's bring this up here.
Hey, I think we're frozen over here. Oh, the whole thing, or just some us? ghost cow who is my roommate told me that Jerry is frozen while trying to show videos. So Oh, I see. I didn't notice here I that. am. In case you were unfamiliar, I am Pegleg Sullivan. I was falsely accused of setting a barn on fire, which some of you commonly now refer to as the Great Chicago Fire. I understand that you were also accused of hosting the Oscars when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, but I'm not sure about that. That was not me. Okay, you say so. But yeah, if a story happens and it's about a fire, it wasn't me. I didn't do it. I was not involved, but I will happily discuss the ins and outs on things like chocolate milk and the origins of such. But I am happy to hand the show back to Mr. Vasilatos. And you are currently watching Chicago Corner, sponsored by Flavor Improving Mugs, the mugs that improve flavor.
Thank you, Pegleg, for the save. For some reason, I got kicked out, even though it doesn't seem I'm having any buffering issues. But we were about to run video. Leave it to TMZ to have the video. The reason the cop was charged was he decided he was going to put his leg on a 14-year-old who he claims stole his son's bike. Let's go to the video. In this era of video everywhere. All right, got to deal with an ad. Skip the ad. Chicago's finest. Constitutional conservative, where are you? There you go. That's, you give them a gun, you give them a badge, you give them some woefully lacking training, and when they're off the job, they decide they can do whatever the fuck they want, violating other people's rights, attacking people, assaulting people. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office Thursday approved felony charges of aggravated, lest there be any doubt to what this cop did. You just saw the video, a Chicago cop.
Bully with a badge.
Talk about the good ones that are out there, but we're constantly seeing the videos of these other jagoffs. Aggravated battery and official misconduct against Chicago Police Sergeant Michael Vitellaro, who last month grabbed a 14-year-old boy of Puerto Rican descent, forced into the sidewalk outside a Park Ridge coffee shop, and put a knee in his back, arguing that the boy had stolen his son's bike. Now look, whether or not the kid stole his son's bike, this motherfucker was using deadly force on a 14-year-old kid. Yeah. Plain and simple. Clear. Yeah. Okay? Let's make no mistake what this asshole decided he was within his rights as an off-duty police officer to do. He basically came close short of putting his knee on the kid's neck in what resulted in George Floyd's death. This is the culture of police. This is the police culture. They can do this. It's okay. They have the badge. They have the gun. They're better than us. They can be Judge Dredd. The incident has drawn significant concern from Park Ridge residents, about 70 of whom attended a July 5th city council meeting to express anger over the incident. Oh, well, look, it happened in an affluent white community, so hopefully there'll be some changes, right? That's when you get the changes, when it starts happening in the affluent white communities. Let me bring the story back up here. Some residents of color said it made them feel unwelcome or doubt the level of acceptance for them in the community, while others questioned why Park Ridge police had not made an arrest the day of the incident. Good question. In a video of the July 1st incident, which circulated on social media, the boy 14 can be seen looking up while held on his stomach against the sidewalk by a man in a blue sweater and gray shorts. Vasilatos turned himself in to Park Ridge Police this morning. According to a press release from the police department, he was due for a bond hearing at the Cook County 2nd District Courthouse. You know what, guys? Had there not been any video, do you think this guy would have turned himself in?
No, of course not. No.
Doubtful.
That cop got caught. And the thing about it is that a lot of cops, for whatever reason, don't think that they are being videotaped. Everybody has got a camera on their phones. And if he did this, and it looked like he did it, was that outside, you said, a Starbucks? Because it looks like it was outside of school.
Yeah. Well, I think it was outside of Starbucks as they reported.
Oh, my goodness. Well, the thing about it is that everybody who was there literally had the opportunity to film that cop being an asshole to that kid.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he wasn't being a cop that day.
No.
He was
being
an
a bully
asshole.
with a badge. He was being a bully and an asshole with a badge.
Yeah.
Exerting deadly force against a 14-year-old Puerto Rican kid.
Totalitarian dickhead. That's what he is.
Let's forget about what his race or ethnicity was. He was a 14-year-old kid. Over possibly stealing a bike. When we talk about cops, enforcing the rights of property owners, that's what being a cop is all about, to sign you to assault a kid over allegedly a stolen bike. I'm extremely proud of, so in a statement, Park Ridge Police Chief Frank Kaminsky thanked the Cook County State's Attorney's Office for their help and expressed pride in his own officers. I'm extremely proud of my staff and their professionalism in conducting a thorough and complete investigation, which they took seriously from day one. I don't think so if they didn't decide to arrest this guy on the day of the incident, because others at the Park Ridge community meeting asked why they had not made an arrest on the day of the incident. And you can damn well be sure someone shared that video with the police department. That's your thin blue line of protection. Park Ridge Mayor Marty Maloney said he was thankful for progress on the case and said he understood the level of attention the case had garnered. It has been frustrating to not be able to discuss the status of the case and not be able to address the baseless claims by some members of our community who were not involved in the case at all, but were quick to claim that the city of Park Ridge was attempting to sweep this incident under the rug, Maloney said. Oh, he's jerking it hard. Come to the skate. Maloney praised the work of city. Like Kaminsky, Maloney praised the work of city staff and officers in the investigation. The entire situation is regrettable, but I'm happy that the involvement of the city was done with professionalism, respect, and focus. I said from the very start of this that the investigation would be run that way and no one would receive preferential treatment based on what they do for a living.
Blowjob! Blowjob!
An arrest does not constitute a finding of guilt. Vasilatos, 49, lives in Chicago's Edison Park neighborhood. Public records show, by the way, Edison Park is pretty much Chicago's Copland. If you know that Stallone movie that I put my Cop Watch intro together from, Edison Park is heavy police community. That's like the New Jersey of Chicago, as far as where a lot of Chicago's police community reside.
Or that's probably why that New York. Yeah, that's probably why that cop thought that he could get away with doing what he just did.
Yeah, not too far from Park Ridge. In his time with the Chicago Police Department, investigators at the Civilian Office of Police Accountability found that a complaint of excessive force against Vasilatos violated department policy, and he received a one-day suspension in 2006 without pay for striking a parked car and failing to report it. Again, this guy turned himself in because he had no choice. There was video. The parents of the 14-year-old who started at Maine South High School August 15th are taking separate legal action against Vasilatos with a civil complaint. Check back at Chicago Tribune for updates. So there you have it.
Well, actually, I can tell you right here, right now, if that cop admits to saying, look, this kid stole my son's bike and it pissed me off and I just decided to go and beat the hell out of him, I would have total respect if he did that, if he said that. Instead, this guy is a cop. I'm sorry, but if you're a police officer, you should have better sense. You go up to that kid and you say, I'm going to go talk to the principal, and then I'm going to go make sure that we go talk to your parents. I believe, or I think that you stole my kid's bike, and we're going to handle it like that. I'm going to go tell the people who are going to be able to do something about this. Because he should have acted like a parent, and maybe not as an officer with a badge to want to kick some ass with. But he didn't do that.
Well, Art, I will say this. With all due respect, I think even an average person should have handled the situation that way.
Yeah, but when a cop has that authority behind them, they think that they can abuse it.
Yeah, I think anybody who was dealing with the possibility that some 14-year-old stole their kid's bike, it's not a life and death, life-threatening situation. Well, it shouldn't even look how he handled it. Shouldn't have even been whether it was life or death. Shouldn't have been the way he handled it.
Here's the bad rub, though. If the family does sue and they win, in case it's the taxpayers that pay for it.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, it's me. My $3.50 from whatever paycheck I ever get is going to go directly to that, and it's going to go on for the rest of my life.
Yeah, we pay for their wrongdoings.
Always and forever.
That's definitely the other part of the story is that, again, this goes to our ongoing conversation. Why aren't police forced to have liability insurance like everybody else? Why doesn't it come out of their pensions to try to, encourage them to be better cops and actually not violate their oaths or engage in criminal behavior while they're on the job or off the job, as in the case of this guy who was off duty?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so, we don't, and that's the ongoing riddle of the ages.
Like Captain Kirk once said, it's a no-win situation. And he's
a no-win scenario.
Yeah, no-win scenario.
Oh, I kind of figured out what's going on with your internet, possibly, Jerry.
Yeah.
You're sharing bandwidth in the apartment you live in or house?
No, I'm on a hardwired connection, and it seems I don't know. I know that my computers had some issues like in previous.
Is it
months.
An actual business connection or is it a residential?
No, it's a residential connection, but I do have a high speed connection with my cable. I'm not running off of Wi-Fi. Am I lagging?
Well, no. I was just trying to help you out there because I know you were having issues and trying to figure it out. And I used to work for a power company down in the city I live in, and I was an IT guy. So yeah, that you actually share bandwidth with your neighborhood.
Bandwidth. Well, I'm paying for a personal plan in my home, but what you're saying is like the signal coming into the neighborhood that's coming to me is also shared with other people.
Yes.
That makes sense. I do think I've got some weird shit going on with my computer, even though I took it to the shop recently. But I will consult with you if you have the time and maybe work out these bugs. Let's go to the live chat here. Let's see here. I think cops are uninsurable. You may have a point there.
Yeah.
Did they find the bike? Good question. Let's go back a little bit farther. Let's see here.
Actually, wouldn't it be ironic if the cop's son said, no, not that kid, that kid?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Once a cop has a suspect, they don't look any further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they also want to make the pinch much faster.
Yeah.
All right. So let me bring up this next story. I want to thank my colleague Lainey Peterson for sharing this. Oh, wrong story. So this comes from Crane's Chicago Business. Yeah, you may not reproduce, display on a website, distribute, blah, 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 blah. It's news. ComEd customers will get their bribery scandal refunds. By Steve Daniels. We're properly attributing the story information to a news story. Regulators approved ComEd's offer to settle the lingering issue of how they pay back ratepayers for its wrongdoing. How much of that $30 million will you get? The answer may surprise you, as Jimmy Dore likes to say.
You're probably going to get like 10 cents.
The average household ratepayer in Northern Illinois will get a $4.80 credit on their electric bill next April.
Yeah!
It's 80 cents.
Victory! Victory, finally!
$80.
Finally.
refund.
Yes!
Next April, in recompense for Commonwealth Edison's nine-year long bribery scheme.
This is such a crock of shit.
The Illinois Commerce Commission unanimously approved ComEd's $31 million offer to settle the issue of how much ratepayers should be refunded for the scheme. 8 years, an 8-year scheme, and we're all getting $4.80 for it. Aimed at currying favor with then House Speaker Michael Madigan, ComEd is adding another $7 million under Federal Energy Regulatory Commission jurisdiction, so the total refund is $38 million. Multiple laws Madigan shepherded through the legislature from 2011 to 2016 resulted in hundreds of millions of additional revenue to ComEd. They included the formula rate authority that allowed ComEd to increase delivery rates with minimal oversight by the ICC. That authority expired after this year. And yes, I am looking through my new drop-ins to see if there's anything new that I can pop in here that's funny, but I didn't have time to upload some of my other ones. Wait, let's see here.
Wait, Jerry, the credit you're going to get is to your bill, not an actual check to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm running out of room in my upload, so I had some others that were appropriate for this, but we'll have to save them for the next show. All right, so, commissioners determined that ComEd's deferred prosecution agreement with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Chicago allowed for the $200 million equity infusion, and so it shouldn't be included. I wonder how much the lawyers are making off of this, though. Yeah, Kathy, less than crumbs. ICC Chair Carrie Zalewski recused herself because her father-in-law, former Alderman Michael Zalewski, was among Madigan's closest allies, whom ComEd put on its lobbying payroll in return for little or no work. The vote was 3-0. The item before us is the result of Commonwealth Edison's unacceptable actions to influence legislators and legislation from 2011 to 2019 under the 2021 Climate Equitable Jobs Act and this docket, the Commissioner's narrow authority to review ComEd's actions. The ICC Commissioner Ann McCabe said from the bench, the scope includes whether ratepayer funds were used to pay the $200 million criminal penalty, no, and whether ratepayer funds were expended in connection with the conduct detailed by the DPA. And why is Commonwealth Edison even allowed to continue as a company here? This is what you apply the corporate. This is what you should be applying the quote unquote corporate death penalty to. Gone.
Well,
8 years.
Old money, Jerry. Old money.
Actually, I think that ComEd is hoping that Google will buy them out.
Yeah, right. The item before us is the result of Commonwealth. We got any thoughts, Pegleg?
Yeah, Jerry, I was reminded by that Heller guy that ComEd is constantly asking Illinois to pay for its infrastructure upgrades.
Yep.
It is constantly grabbing money from the state of Illinois. I think the state of Illinois should just municipalize ComEd because at this point, the state pretty much owns them anyway. This $5, it's a slap in the face. It's ridiculous, and these people need to go to prison for longer than I've been a ghost.
I worked for a power company, so yeah, I know. Big one down here, and it was a subsidiary of a subsidiary. And yeah, it all the people they own, it's amazing. I used to set up telecommunication calls for board meetings, and the way they talk about their employees, we're not even human.
Pegleg, can you share this with our buddy Ed Heller?
Let that be a lesson to you boys and girls. Don't ever argue with the big dog. Big dog is always right.
I will do my best to pass that on.
All right. The item before us is the result of Commonwealth Edison's unacceptable actions to influence legislators and legislation from 2011 to 2019 under the 2021 Climate and Equitable Jobs Act, and this docket, the Commission has narrow authority to review ComEd's actions. ICC Commissioner Ann McCabe said from the bench, the scope includes whether ratepayer funds were used to pay the $200 million criminal penalty. Oh, I went over that paragraph, sorry. So, in a statement, ComEd CEO Gil Quinones said, the quality and value of ComEd service to our customers is arguably the best in the nation, especially when they're ripping us off. But we recognize delivering excellent, but we recognize that delivering excellent performance and value for the dollar is not enough, and we are equally dedicated to earning and maintaining our customers' trust. We're committed to maintaining high standards of ethical behavior for our business, our leaders, and every employee, and we continue to build on the significant new policies, oversight, and rigorous employees training that we've enacted since 2020 to make sure that the past conduct that drove this refund can never happen again.
And to show you're serious, we're going to give you almost $5.
ComEd hired Quinones nearly a year ago. He came from New York, where he'd worked as CEO of the New York Power Authority. His predecessor, Joe Dominguez, is now CEO of Baltimore-based Constellation Energy Group. They're shifting the corrupt administrators around, formerly Exelon's power generation arm until it was spun off earlier this year. Anne Pramaggiore, who ran ComEd for most of the period that the utility admitted to criminal wrongdoing, is scheduled to stand trial next March, along with 3 other defendants on charges of fraud and conspiracy tied to the ComEd issues. She and others have pleaded not guilty. You know what's going to happen? They're going to pay this fine. That's it. This is going to be a drop in the bucket for them until the next time is what's going to happen.
And they're probably going to get suspended sentences because they just took a bribe. They didn't kill anybody. So, prison, don't worry about that.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it's the same old thing over and over and over again. I mean, wealthy people trying to control poor people and tell them to take the back end, coming up our tailpipes and enjoy it.
Take the crumbs and be happy with them.
Yeah.
Hey, Pegleg, any chance? Oh, go ahead, Art.
Well, no, it's just that I was going to point out that these are the educated, very well-bred, high society leaders of the world that do this. It's like, I'm sorry, but I didn't have much of an education. But the one that had a lot of education is the one that's doing these kind of crimes.
Yeah, of course.
Well, Harvard's just an institution for rip-off artists. That's all it is. It's
that's
wealthy
their motto.
Kids who get to go and screw around with poor people's lives.
So, the story I jumped past that I just realized, I feel like we're missing something here. I didn't think that it took as much importance as Cop Watch, but I will bring it up because it is in our big show graphic. Columbus has been canceled. Now,
what?
Well, here's the thing. First off, there's an editorial in the Chicago Sun-Times that requests that be given a second chance. And this comes to us from letters to the editor, regarding the Columbus, the statue that was removed from the park of genocidal maniac Christopher Columbus. Rather than burying history, City Hall should recognize the complex and continuing legacy of Columbus. A picture of what happened when the statue was removed. In 2020, statues of Christopher Columbus were removed from public view by Chicago in response to massive protests. The protesters, who were motivated by justifiable anger against lethal police force, focused their rage on statues of the man who changed the course of history and opened the door to worldwide innovation and exchange. Nah, he kind of came into this country, claimed he discovered it when he didn't, executed a mass genocide against its indigenous population, and took credit for generations until actual historians came out and spilled the beans on what the truth was. City Hall was short-sighted in removing the statues. Rather than burying history, City Hall should recognize the complex and continuing legacy of Columbus. Over the long run, the arrival of Columbus and Europeans was catastrophic for indigenous people, partly due to their lack of immunity to unfamiliar diseases. Well, that's not being too apologetic for what happened. These facts do not excuse Columbus, who captured the indigenous peoples and transported them across the Atlantic to the Old World, where they were treated as curiosities. He was a product of his time. Nevertheless, Columbus continues to inform us about the power of discovery, exchange, and identity. We have celebrated Columbus Day as a national holiday since the 1940s. We've seen Italian Americans and other immigrant groups embrace Columbus as the first immigrant to the New World. To our neighbors in the Dominican Republic, Columbus remains a source of inspiration. To the people of Mexico, Columbus Day is celebrated now and is a day of creation. Dia la Raza, the day a new nation was born through the union of old and new world people into one. During Columbus's time and after, old and new world people exchanged goods and services that enriched both communities. Horses are not native to the United States. They were brought over from Europe by the Spaniards and embraced by indigenous people. Tomatoes are not native to Italy. They were transported from the Americas to Italy by Spanish explorers. And now we can enjoy the delights of pizza margarita. We cannot go back to pre-Columbian time in the city and nation, but we can ensure that the nation begotten as a result of Columbus's 4 voyages will live up to the promises enshrined in the Declaration of Independence that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are the basic rights of all Americans. Let's give Columbus a second chance. Bring back the statues.
Did
You know what?
somebody say
When are you guys
pizza?
going to put? I was going to say, when are you going to put a Jeffrey Epstein statue up next to Columbus? You know, since they both traded in kids. You know. Oh, man.
Whoa! Yes, bring on the salt, Mike.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. Yeah, very, very good point. So, yeah, that was the editorial. That was a letter to the editor at the Sun-Times. Thankfully, cooler heads, I think, are going to prevail. Look, I'm not about canceling Columbus. I think we should keep Columbus in our history books, and we should all pay attention to what Columbus actually did. As far as like commemorating him with a statue in the park downtown, I don't think that's necessary to keeping him in the historical eye as to what he did, how he did it, and what his legacy was really about.
Yeah,
I think that's fine. Let's keep
Jerry,
the history books. Yeah.
Jerry, what I think is, I mean, we don't need to put those statues back where they were, but they are pieces of art, and I think we should appreciate that for what it is. And so maybe what we need is to find a new museum of defunct statues and put the museum up where we've got all these statues that have been taken down for who knows what reason, and then part of that museum will be explaining what the statue was, when it was put up, and why it was taken down. That way people can still visit those statues. And sure, the Italian Americans will still be angry about it, but the truth is, we can't just keep having statues up of people who ended up being super terrible people.
Yeah, we can't whitewash history.
Yeah, we can't.
No, let me also say, we covered I think I covered this in a show previously. Next to the Chicago Theater downtown, there is a medieval museum of torture where they display torture devices. They have displays of the types of tortures that were used against people during medieval times, and it's a big.
Yeah.
To read the
Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah, to read the reviews of this museum, people get a big kick going there and seeing how people were dehumanized, terrorized, and tortured and mutilated in earlier times. I think, Ed, to your point, yeah, we should have a museum like that to all the genocidal war criminal maniacs through history. And if people want to go to that museum and enjoy the statues and jerk each other off over what their contributions were to history, ignoring their true legacy, fine by me. But let's make sure that we identify them for who they were and what they did.
And you know,
we
the
don't need to have
biggest
them in the
amount
middle
of
of the parks.
statues in those museums would be American presidents.
There you go. Yeah, very true. Very true. Dump them in the lake. All right, so let's go to the article, though, that is pushing against this letter to the editor at the Sun-Times. This comes to us from Kelly Bauer at Block Club Chicago. Columbus statue shouldn't return. Balboa monument should be taken down, the city committee says. So some cooler heads have prevailed here. A city
I
committee
got video for that if you want it, Jerry.
Yeah, let me read some of the article, then we'll pull up the video. A city committee spent more than a year meeting with neighbors and community groups. Oh my goodness, they're actually listening to the community. As it reviewed what should be done with the controversial monuments, it released its report Friday. The report is certain to renew debate over the monuments, which have long been controversial. It's not yet certain if officials will follow the committee's recommendations to remove the monuments. Leave it to Lightfoot to probably not pay attention. The Columbus statue should not return, said Les Begay, a member of the DNA Nation, co-founder of the Indigenous Peoples Day Coalition of Illinois, and a long volunteer for the American Indian Center. The committee made the right recommendation, and I hope the mayor takes that recommendation and does not overrule them. Now I'm worried, Ed. The city created the Chicago Monuments Committee in August of 2020 as debate raged over what should happen to Chicago's Christopher Columbus statues. A prominent Columbus statue in Grant Park and two others in the city had been removed in July of 2020 amid high-profile debates over monuments that honor problematic figures and after protesters tried to tear it down, leading to a violent clash with police officers. The Columbus statues have been in storage, their fate's uncertain, while the city-created committee reviewed them. I think they ought to put the statue and other statues like Columbus into a fenced bird park where the birds can just like
Where they can crap on them.
shit all over.
Yeah.
I think that would be like the right kind of sanctuary for them. Some Italian-American groups have argued that they should be returned, saying Columbus is a hero to many Italians. Of course he is. Not all Italians, but many Italians. And I'm sure those Italians might be related to the Sopranos. But others have pointed out how Columbus's actions led to mass genocide and crimes, including rape and torture against indigenous people. In March, Mayor Lori Lightfoot said she fully expected a Columbus statue to return to Grant Park, generating controversy among people who were waiting to hear from the Monuments Committee. Friday's report from the committee recommends the statue stay gone for good. Columbus has become a bitter reminder of centuries of exploitation, conquest, and genocide for many, and there has been significant adverse reaction to these artworks, according to the committee. There's a large Native community in the city, and we're pretty much erased, Begay said. The mayor talks about not wanting to provide a sanitized version of history, but I think returning the statues is the epitome of sanitized history and revisionist history. Ed, you want to bring up that video?
Yeah, but before I do, Kathy Powers, do we have Al Capone statues anywhere in Chicago? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
We had the Capone Cafe, which there was a lot of controversy surrounding that, and I don't know that it idolized Capone as much as just referenced Chicago's Prohibition gangster era. Maybe they should have put Capone's in the name.
That's a different thing, you know.
I hate to say it, but Capone helped feed my family when they lived in Chicago.
Yeah, during the Great Depression, Al Capone opened up more soup kitchens than the city of Chicago ever could have.
Yeah.
That's why he was popular with everybody. That's why they turned a blind eye to what else he was doing.
Yeah. Well, now remember, he was able to get away with crime. He wasn't able to get away with tax evasion.
No, yeah.
Right. That's what they'll get you for. All right. So it looks like, there you go. Thanks, Ed.
New at 6, you may remember this scene from 2020, one of the many protests that were surrounding the city's controversial statues of Christopher Columbus. Well, those statues have been in storage, and if a Chicago committee has its way, that's where they'll stay, along with many others. CBS 2's Asal Razai joins us live in Grant Park to explain. Asal?
Yeah, Marie, we may see a lot more bases like the one you see here behind me empty, a site where a statue once existed. The Chicago Monuments Project is now recommending over 40 sculptures and plaques across the city to be either taken down or modified. If you've walked over the DuSable Bridge in the heart of downtown Chicago, you've seen these intricate pieces engraved into parts of the bridge. They're on a long list of historic artwork and statues that are being recommended be done away with or changed by the Chicago Monuments Project Committee.
Can you pause it for a moment, Ed?
Show American Indians.
Now, there's a slippery slope that's also referenced in the Block Club Chicago article. Much of the controversy around Chicago's memorial is focused on the Columbus statues and the Balboa Monument, but the committee also reviewed dozens of other public statues that had been flagged as problematic, as the one we're looking at right now at the DuSable Bridge. The Fort Dearborn. Okay, so As a result, Friday's report also recommends taking down the Jacques Marquette Louis Joliet Memorial, which depicts an indigenous person following Marquette, because it reinforces stereotypes about American Indians and glorifies a complicated and painful history of Western expansion. The Fort Dearborn Massacre sculpture has a false name and uses violent imagery to reinforce a founding myth of Chicago that characterizes American Indians as deceitful and untrustworthy, and it should remain in storage, according to the committee. Plaques for Kinsey Mansion and Jean-Baptiste Bourbon should be placed in storage, and the city should commission new plaques or signs that provide a more accurate recounting of the city's founding, according to the report. When you look at art, not you, Art, the artwork here,
Yeah.
and you consider that is problematic to the real narrative of history, I guess there is a slippery slope here. I don't know. There are people who've also argued that, Jean-Baptiste Pointe-du-Sable wasn't like the big saint that everyone claimed he was when they decided to throw his name on Lakeshore Drive, but they looked past that. So let's go back to the video.
As, quote, merely a foil to help define the heroic acts and qualities of colonizing forces, end quote. The Bowman and the Spearman statue on Columbus Circle in Congress is also recommended to go, along with a number of plaques, including this one on Michigan Avenue near Randolph, because of the way it ranks the early settlers. The summer of 2020, protesters tried to tear down the Columbus statue in Grant Park, leading to Mayor Lori Lightfoot ordering 3 Columbus statues be removed. She asked the committee to review over 500 monuments, and now the group says the Columbus statues should not return, and over 3 dozen others need to be either taken down or reviewed. The city will give $50,000 grants to help with several monuments around the city, including one for gun violence victims.
Now, the mayor has not said if she agrees with any of the recommendations. I'm told some members of the Italian-American community who have been outspoken about the removal of Christopher Columbus statues plan on speaking out on this tomorrow as a response to the report.
As an Expedia member.
All right, so it's a little complicated. What do you guys think?
Well, if I could just start off, I think that this country eventually is going to have to start taking down the statues of every single person that has ever lived in history. And they're going to be replaced by fictional characters like Iron Man and John Wick and James
They should
Bond.
be.
Yeah, because no matter what, whoever we actually decide to make a statue of,
Lionize, yeah.
there will always be something that they have done that is basically says, why are we worshiping this guy? Why is, like, for instance, eventually there will be a Steve Jobs statue, but eventually somebody will be like, Steve Jobs wasn't a really great guy, and then it will be taken down.
Well, if I could interject Art, really quickly, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was beloved for getting us out of the Depression, leading us through World War II, creating jobs, creating the New Deal. However, he also created all those internment camps that imprisoned the Japanese.
Yes.
Completely obscenely
Well,
during
and
World
also
War
to
II.
point out-
So it's like it. But I don't know. Is there a line between when someone crosses that line and actually engages in genocide, and we should not be celebrating them with public monuments, or is there some kind of a line where it's like, well, yeah, Roosevelt wasn't perfect. Luckily, he didn't engage in a Holocaust the way Hitler did, as far as the internment camps. But go ahead.
Roosevelt also didn't include the black and brown communities in the New Deal.
Okay.
He did not
Yeah.
include them at all.
That's true. Yeah, he kind of like left them in the lurch on that one.
Yep.
He really rogered them on that.
Yep, because just like his uncle Teddy, who was a huge racist, did the Mount Rushmore monument
Yeah.
on native land as a big FU to the native communities.
All good points. I guess it's a complicated issue. I don't know. Well, I don't think the Columbus statue should be returned.
Yeah, I don't think that they should.
Based on what we're talking about
They should
here, You guys
Get
make
rid
good
of all
arguments.
statues. Get rid of all statues. Let's just make it easy for ourselves. Get rid of all statues and just not even deal with the problem
Or put
the
them in
issue.
historical context. Be true. Tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly. Make a statue of Christopher Columbus killing a Native American.
Or
Yeah,
enslaving children and selling them.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Let's have a statue of FDR literally leading the Japanese American into an internment camp. Let's have a statue of that.
Yeah,
that's interesting. What if we started creating artwork and statues and sculptures that actually showed real history?
Yes, and you know what? That should be the thing. Have any of the statues replaced with statues like that, and watch the public say, "Well, we don't want that," and then say, "Okay, so what do you want?" Because honestly, there's no solution to this. There really isn't.
Excuse me, but I believe I have a solution for this.
Go ahead.
And you know,
Lightfootness.
I'm sorry, but Jerry, I am completely in favor of replacing all of the statues with more abstract type statues.
Oh no.
Such as
Oh no. Yes, I knew it was coming.
shiny statues that look like beans. And preferably ones that are stacked on top of other shiny statues that look like
I
beans.
have a poem for you, Lightfoot. I have a poem I wrote for you.
There's a
billionaires.
poem?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait.
The billionaires looked high and the billionaires looked low, but it was under a bridge they found their troll.
And on
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
And on that note,
Is that me gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
Here, this is what you're looking for, right?
there you go.
Shout out to Kathy.
Two birds with one stone.
Actually, there's a solution to this. Now that I see that photo of Mayor Lightfoot with the two shiny balls that are right there.
Oh my goodness! Why don't you
make?
Did you see Mayor Lightfoot and two big balls?
You dicks! What the fuck were you thinking? You make some kind of secret agreement with the Italians. You're out there measuring your dicks with the Italians, seeing who's got the biggest dicks. You're out there stroking your dicks over the Columbus statue. My dick is bigger than yours and the Italians. I have the biggest dick in Chicago.
Oh gosh. So what they should do is that they should make a statue of Columbus, but make the surface of the entire statue
the biggest balls
reflective. No, make them reflective like the bean is. That way, when somebody looks at the statue, they're actually seeing a reflection of themselves. That way, in society, we are actually viewing ourselves and what we have done to this world.
I must say though, suddenly the double bean takes on a new meaning.
A new meaning. Glad to have contributed.
The double ball, the two big balls. Wow.
We would just replace every statue with the double bean. It'll be a double bean Chicago. I mean, who doesn't like a shiny, bean-shaped abstract statue that really has no historical meaning whatsoever?
Lori's big balls, the double bean statue. It's like poetry. It all rhymes.
Well, Kathy has about 35 poems of Lori. So.
Oh, I know. Kathy shared a lot of her poems with us. We try to put them in there when we can. Oh, I see. I have about 35 Lori poems. Well, send them along, Kathy. We can squeeze them in like the double farts that she is. All right. So this last story I know is going to appeal to our friend Ed. It's our end of the show positive. Try to lead us out with something that's entertaining and upbeat. Chicago's famous paintings are becoming pothole mosaics thanks to artist Jim Bacor. From Lean Yassine at Block Club Chicago. Go ahead, Ed.
Thank you, Lean. At least someone is filling the potholes.
Yes. Yeah. Hey, Ed, as I go into this story, can you find the link for our event this weekend? Because I don't have it in my show notes, and I do want to close with it, but I want to share the link and bring it up.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that.
Okay. Let me go into this. Article while you do that. Jim Bacor loved mixing highbrow art pieces with his mosaics in a pothole style. It's just a little bit of joy that you didn't expect in a ridiculous space. Look at this, man. Chicago potholes. Look at what he's doing.
It's freaking nice, man.
To add to, and I wonder if they're going to dig him out, even though he's providing a great public service, protecting cars. I'm almost wondering if these are going to be dug out the way the assholes at the Park District decided to remove all of the life rings along the lakefront that they wouldn't put in, that residents put in to save people from drowning. Well, I guess we'll have to monitor this story. You don't have to visit a museum to see some of the world's most renowned paintings. You can spot them in Chicago's potholes. Local mosaic artist Jim Bacor is known for filling potholes with small, colorful mosaics. His latest street art series is called Masterpieces, and it recreates famous artworks people ordinarily would see at the Art Institute of Chicago. There's a kind of an interesting juxtaposition. Speaking of juxtapositions, there's kind of an interesting juxtaposition there of bringing masterpieces from a museum into the reviled pothole, Bacor said. That was kind of funny. And there is the artist at work. There are 4 works in the series, each one inspired by a famous painting: Van Gogh's The Bedroom, Grant Wood's American Gothic, Andy Warhol's Chairman Mao, and Edward Hopper's Nighthawks. I really, really hope he decides to integrate Edward Munch's The Scream in multiple pothole locations.
Yeah, that could just be a new logo for the city of Chicago.
Yeah, right, with the Chicago flag behind it.
Scream, yeah.
Bacor
actually did I did a sticker design for a rock band one time that was based off of that thing. I took a picture of one of my college buddies and I made it look like he was basically the character from The Scream, and that became a sticker that they sold in their shop. So yeah, that'd be great to see him do that. I know we had stories about the potholes in the past, and we talked about what we were going to fill them with. And
I want to fill them with older people.
Yeah, but we had someone had suggested we fill them with dibs chairs.
If they can be compressed, into like something solid. If we have one of those like compressor things like in the Star Wars garbage compactor that can just squeeze it into something solid and put them into those potholes, not a bad idea to take all
Actually, I have a better solution. Why not take all of the statues that have been taken down, melt them down, and cover the potholes with those?
There we go. Bringing it home.
Reuse the concrete.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's urban renewal.
That's right there. Make the city, fix the city.
And you know what you can do? Fill the potholes with the statues of those genocidal maniacs and put a little plaque there commemorating what they contributed to history.
Even better, Jerry. We could just slice the heads off and encase them in polyurethane and have them staring up at us from the road.
I love it. Look at all the wonderful, amazing, creative ideas we bring together here on Chicago Corner to talk about solutions, not just bitch all the time.
No, we're talking about statue heads, not other heads, just in case anyone was wondering.
Okay.
Well, I actually like what this guy's doing because I mean it's beautiful. I haven't seen mosaic art like that in a while.
Yeah,
and the fact
wish
that
all
he's
the
just
city
going
roads
around
were like this.
That's a tourist thing you guys can have for Chicago. I mean,
he should be getting paid. He should be getting paid for this.
Yeah,
no, he's an artist. He will never get paid.
He should be training the Chicago pothole crews to do this.
Yeah, the only drawback to this being a tourist attraction is the safety issue. People ambling out into the street to look at the filled-in potholes, walking into traffic.
Well, you just call it population control.
Yeah,
I'm being silly.
But then you don't want to get blood on. I was saying you don't want to get blood on these things. They're works of art.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you have a high pressure washer.
Going back to the article, Bakor shows pieces relatively recognizable to the general public and colorful enough that they stand out to passers-by. Each mosaic is in a different part of the city at Green and Randolph Streets in West Loop, Estes and Glenwood Avenues in Rogers Park, in a 2000th block of West Crystal Street in Wicker Park, and in the 4100th block of North Costner Avenue in Old Orange Park. Picking a pothole can be tricky, Bakor said. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Bachor. He used to find a pothole and make a mosaic to fit it, but by the time he was ready to install the art, the potholes would be filled, he said. I am completely at the mercy of the potholes. Finding good potholes is a pain in the ass. I like the way this guy talks. I can't just willy-nilly put them anywhere. I have to find stable potholes where the art will last a long time. The masterpieces mosaics reflect Bakor's dry humor by highlighting the juxtaposition between highbrow and lowbrow art, he said. Street art is street art, and it isn't necessarily considered terribly fine art, he said, but my art takes a ton of time. Bakor said that if he were to sell his pieces from his studio as if they were fine art, he would charge about $3,500 per piece. Yes, so those are $3,500 pieces of art stuck in the ground. You know what? I don't doubt it. With the materials, the time,
the work,
the work, amazing.
The creativity.
The Nighthawks one alone.
This art takes me back to the 1950s, man. I love it. It's great.
So, Bakor said he reached out to the Art Institute of Chicago about the series, joking he'd like to get funding, but he's not heard back. Is the Art Institute too highbrow to fund this type of artwork and contribution?
Yes,
apparently, yeah.
Like much of Bakor's work, the latest mosaics bring something pretty to a place that otherwise could be considered ugly.
You know who
aren't attractive.
Should reach out to is the. Sorry to interrupt. He should reach out to the Museum of Contemporary Art, the MCA, over on Chicago Avenue.
We'll have to segment and send it to him. Potholes aren't attractive. Everyone hates them, Bakor said, and then I'll juxtapose them with maybe flowers because everyone loves flowers, or junk food because everyone loves junk food. Bakor said he hopes his art resonates with peoples and brings unexpected grins. Bakor also hides a gift bag filled with goodies including prints, magnets, keychains, and coupons for his online shop near every piece he creates. The bags are usually gone within about 30 minutes of completing an installation, he said. It's just a little bit of joy that you didn't expect in a ridiculous space, he said. Bakor's art is generally stuck in the ground, but you can buy prints, merchandise, and more online. Now, here's something even cooler. We have video.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Ugly. Annoying. Hazardous. It's awful. Just a hole in the street nobody likes. Everyone hates potholes. It doesn't matter who you are. They tear up your car. Damaged tires. Bikes flipping over cars, having accidents. I almost fell and hurt my leg. You fell into the pothole and bam, the tire went out. Everyone hates them. I'll juxtapose that universal hate. Hell on earth. The subject matter that everyone essentially loves. My name is Jim Bacher. I'm a street artist that does ancient technique, contemporary mosaics. The niche that I found is pothole art.
It's awesome.
The pothole art project started in 2013. Our street was particularly beat up. What I noticed was that there was a pothole in front of our house that was kind of stubborn, kind of refused to stay fixed. Not more than 100 yards away in my studio, I was working on this art form that I was so passionate about, that was so durable. So I decided to kind of merge those two ideas, do a custom piece of mosaic art and fix that pothole. This is a new piece. Two of my elderly neighbors, about ready to shake hands, but one of the hands has one of those Harco Joe's buzzers. In the early days, I was really paranoid because I didn't want to get arrested. So I didn't know how legal it was. As the campaign progressed, I'd be sometimes surprised that they didn't stop by because it's like, isn't this odd that this dude is fixing this pothole for so long on his hands and knees? And then as the campaign got popular, then people started to notice. The actual name of this piece is My Best
I love this. This is just so fucking cool.
It's paid off for me. It's pretty tedious. Two-step process. I roll out clay onto a board and transfer my design onto that clay. And then I break marble and glass, place those pieces on the clay. They're about 8 hours long to do. Bowls and bowls of Italian glass, bowls and bowls of marble. Then the last thing I started doing, I will tag the piece with my website. It's not permanent paint, chalk goes away, but at least it gives a path to finding.
And you know what? So what if it was?
My work and seeing more of my stuff. You can even think of Chicago as being a mosaic. There's so many people coming from all over the world that make up Chicago. We're all Chicagoans, but we're also individual pieces. It's the same kind of idea. Individual pieces coming together to make a whole picture. Please welcome.
So my big, what I wonder though, beyond this story, is whether or not he gets any pushback from the city. They don't mention the article.
He will definitely get a lot of pushback from the city, and I'll tell you why. In 1987, when I was in high school, my high school decided to fix all of the potholes on the main street. They actually just got a bunch of students from my high school, and they showed us how to fix a pothole. And we fixed it right across from Long Avenue at Prosser Vocational High School. The next day, the city came and ripped what we had done out. And they explained to us, hey, if you do this, then we're not going to be able to work. And we have to work. This was a city worker telling us, hey, if you do the job for us, then we don't have a job. And I said, that's a good point.
Long to get there. I mean, what took them so fucking long to get? It's like, unless it's approved and official by the city, they'll take their own sweet time moving their ass to fix it. And then when you do something, it's showed them up. Then they're going to go tear it out because they got to do what they want to do.
Jerry, you have just made my point for me, because I remember I said this was back in 1987. So imagine now in 2022, when this guy is doing the city's job for the city's not going to stand for it. They're not going to stand for it.
Well, yeah, it's definitely that. There might be a little slice of liability issues that the city
not getting work
talk
permits and all that.
They're
going to
say, "Oh, well,
regulations.
this guy fetch his pothole, but we don't know if he did a good job."
Right?
Yes, but remember this, okay? The guy is doing a good thing for the city. He's doing a logical, sensible thing for the city, and the city says, "You can't do that."
Well, and it beautifies the city.
And
it
what
actually
the city
makes
should
it look
be
better.
doing is,
and that's why the city doesn't want him to do that, because it will improve the city.
The city should be embracing this guy. They should be supporting him, and they should give him a crew. So
I'm
they
embracing
can make
him.
sure that they are properly patching this while he's putting his mosaics on there. They kill two birds with one stone. They create new works of art and new buzz for the city, and the tourism bureau should be all over this.
Yeah, it's a great idea, but it's never going to fly.
But because it wasn't Lightfoot's idea, so she won't let it happen.
Ed,
well,
I was about to say
NASCAR's
that.
got to happen. NASCAR has got to happen. Death races in Chicago 2025.
I don't have my NASCAR videos queued to show all the accidents that we can expect on Lakeshore Drive.
Hey, look, I can't control what happens when people patch potholes, Jerry, but I can control everything else, especially things like NASCAR. I have these weird, crazy mental abilities that will entirely prevent every crash from even remote possibilities of happening when we have NASCAR in Chicago, Jerry.
That's the really messed up part about it, too, trying to put a racetrack in Chicago, because I saw the map in the area.
Yeah,
the amount of reinforcement you're going to have to do on the buildings, the
to
sewer
protect
system,
the property. Yep.
The trains. I mean, it's insane. Trillions. It's
and who's going to pay for it? And the amount of money that NASCAR is going to be paying is like a pittance.
He's going to He's going to pay for it?
Yeah, we are. So I looked at the date on that video for Jim, and that video was produced in 2019. So the fact he's still doing it, I guess it's a good sign he hasn't gotten any pushback, since the article that I just shared from Block Club was from the other day. But, you know, maybe now that he's getting more notoriety, we'll have to be worried about his efforts.
You know, I bet you anything that if Banksy was filling up those potholes, they wouldn't say shit about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I did a Can TV Chicago Corner episode a couple weeks ago that will be broadcasting on Can TV soon on the mural movement with the lady. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting her name now. But she joined me, and she's the gallery owner, Delilah. I'm forgetting her last name, but watch for it on Can TV. We'll also have it here on the Chicago Corner channel on YouTube. And we basically talk about the mural movement across Chicago, why you see the murals, the fact that they are in support of activism. And we also talked about the fact that some murals that were approved ended up getting painted over the next day. And her suspicion was it was by law enforcement.
Yeah, they did that in Wisconsin. They did that in Wisconsin, the mural in their building.
Delilah Martinez. Thank you, Ed. Yeah, it was Delilah Martinez. That was a fun episode.
Wisconsin State House, they had a mural of how the workers fought for the 40-hour work week and everything, and they completely painted it over. Government just went in and painted over that entire mural, showing how the people fought for the weekend, 40-hour work week, health benefits, and your job. Yeah,
Kathy, duly noted. I will see if I can reach out to him and have him on a Can TV show that will then port over to YouTube after
that's
broadcast.
That's a great idea, because then we can ask him all the questions about the pushback he's getting from the city.
Yeah, if there is any.
If there is any.
All right, two community notes for the end of the show here. Jessica Olson, who we had on the show several months ago, Kira and I spoke with her regarding abortion rights in Chicago in response to the repeal of Roe v. Wade, has an activism event coming up soon on August 27th. It's called the 500 Acts for Abortion. That's the hashtag. The goal is to mobilize 500 people to each do an act that supports abortion rights on Saturday, August 27th, and to share their act on Twitter. So we do have this linked in the show notes. Let me bring up the other page that goes into some detail on what the activist event's goals entail. Principles: we believe the criminalization of abortion needs to be fought in concert with other forms of criminalization. Accessibility: we believe that people should have access to safe, affirming abortion care at any stage of pregnancy for any reason. Act locally: we believe in prioritizing channeling resources to local abortion funds and clinics who are grounded in community accountability and responsive to people's needs. Now, abortion choice is a personal decision. Regardless of what anybody thinks about abortion as it relates to their faith, beliefs, otherwise, this is a medical decision, a medical choice. I don't think anybody out there would want a woman to have to sacrifice her health, her safety, her life, in regard to other people deciding to make moral judgments against her, women. So I wanted to, again, remind people of this activist event that's coming up in support of Jessica Olson and what her group is trying to accomplish, especially in light of what we've all witnessed with the Supreme Court repealing Roe v. Wade. And again, you can find the activist link and a link to what the group is doing in our show notes below. I hope that those of you who are so inclined will do so. So shout out to Jessica and what her group's doing. We support her activism and women's right to choose. Lastly, a little bit of housekeeping here. This Sunday at the 99 Perspectives Studio, we will have another open house. Keep the summer going at 99 Perspective Studios, Sunday, August 21st from 6 p.m. to midnight. You can join us at the 99 Perspective Studio at 3046 North Justine Street, Suite 502. Please go to the link on Eventbrite, and I am going to post it here in the chat. You can, where we go here, RSVP, get a ticket, come join the team, meet the team at 99 Perspective Studio, see what we're doing there. It's where Herdland's Media broadcasts from 5 days a week at 4 o'clock. It's where we record our Can TV Chicago Corner shows. This event is free to enter. If you work in social media and want to expand your YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, promote your business, or just meet people to collaborate with, this is your event. Come see our live stream production studio. We invite everyone to keep the summer going. So check out the link there in the live chat. I hope you can join us. I believe that attendance will be limited based on how many people RSVP, but it is free. So the sooner that you RSVP in that Eventbrite link, hopefully you will be able to join us. So that's all I got. I think we covered a lot tonight. We're almost at 2.5 hours. I love long shows.
Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you did great.
Went by real quick.
I was so glad you were here to help Jerry out. I didn't know if I was going to get here. And so glad to get some additional perspectives to come on the show. I think that's what this is all about here. Chicago.
Well, yeah.
Corner, it's not just about us. It's about everybody.
Free exchange of ideas.
Yeah, it's all, and as I always say, I love bringing our live stream viewers into sharing them in the stream, but even better, Mike and Art to bring you onto the show, and hopefully we'll have other of our viewers that participate in the live streams. If they have webcam access, we open the invitation. You can always email me, Jerry at chicagocorner.tv. One other event I forgot to mention is Kira's mud wrestling event.
Yes, I remember this.
Yes! Let me bring this up on my end so I can read the details. Now, this is taking place Saturday, August 27th. The Mud Queens triumphant return to Reggie's. The Mud Queens donate a portion of our proceeds to local women's charities at the Chicago Women's Healthcare Center. Although we really don't need a legitimate reason to get dirty, it makes us feel good. As long as there is mud, we'll keep slinging and swinging. And of course, this event features our own Kira McCown, who is
Brownie Bruiser.
Brownie Bruiser, who's a mud wrestling queen. With the return of veteran wrestlers Brownie Bruiser, Molly Hatchet, Malice, and Plunderland, the new recruits will have a lot to prove. So here is a link to that in the chat. You can all put that on your calendars at Reggie's, August 27th. And visit the website for the Mud Queens at mudqueens.com.
Yeah, and it should be a pretty good time. I mean, they got their own band too. So it's like
Nice.
It's not just mud wrestling. You get a whole night of music and fun at this place. And it goes, and proceeds go to charity. So it's pretty good opportunity to get out and do something really interesting and weird. That if you've never been out to see mud wrestling, this is your chance. So that's the Saturday after tomorrow, August 27th.
Yeah, and the fact that all the proceeds are going to the local women's charity.
Chicago isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here.
We salute the Mud Queens, their work, their competition, and the fact that they're doing this for a good cause.
Their diligence and the fact that one of these days, hopefully, we may have roller derbies return to Chicago.
Yeah,
I would prefer roller derby to NASCAR. I can say that.
Yeah, we've got roller derby in my city, and it's fun.
Hey!
Safer and more fun.
Yep.
Jerry will hose her off. She hasn't asked me if I can she hasn't asked me if I can provide that honor. But if she does, I will.
There is roller.
You can be her
derby.
hose man.
You can be her host.
Just
Her
so
host.
you know, just so you
No,
know, guys.
she's married, Mike. But
I know. That's why I'm saying her husband might have an issue.
yeah, maybe her husband will be the hose man. Yeah, I will defer to him. Now, in the chat, it's not the night before. Wait, is it the night before the open house? No. The open house is this Sunday. This is next Saturday, I believe. Look at the dates.
27th.
Yeah, they're in the chat.
There is or possibly was roller derby. Some people may remember the Windy City Rollers. It doesn't look like they've had any recent events according to their website, but maybe they're just not updating their website.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate you all joining me, and that Ed could also join me for the last. Well, he could join us after we started the show. I mean, this was really to cover his absence, but it's even better with four people chatting back and forth.
Yeah, next time let's get 5.
Oh, then we'll go 3 hours. Mike, anything you want to promote?
No, just keep watching Chicago Corner and HLM, guys. And I'm really happy that you got 99 Perspectives up and running. We need more citizen journalists. We really do. We need you guys to be out there and just speak truth to power.
Yes!
Thank you for that. Art, anything you want to promote?
I want to promote the Lake Bar. I went there last night with mutual friends of ours, and they had industrial night, and I got to do some dancing, which I haven't done in such a long time. It's kind of amazing. But Lake Bar is a really nice place. It's on Belmont and Central Park, and I suggest that anybody who wants to go back to the time when they were in high school and they want to dance to the songs that were popular when they were in high school, Lake Bar is the place to go and do it. I don't know what time they're closed or what time they're open, but it's called the Lake Bar. You can look it up and just go there and have a good time. It's a really wonderful place.
My invitation must have gotten lost in the mail.
You son of a bitch.
Industrial night doesn't start until 10.
All right. Well, you have to let me know next time, Art, because I'd love to join you guys.
Absolutely.
And Ed, as always, I know you have something to promote.
Well, I always like to promote the channel and their wonderful merchandise, like flavor-improving mugs. The mugs that improve flavor. Do you have a beverage container that doesn't improve the flavor of your beverage? Well, what are you doing with that when you could have a flavor-improving mug now available in the Chicago Corner merch store?
Ed, how are the sales on the flavor-improving mugs going?
No idea.
I haven't seen any super chats lately. I don't know how our
I
mugs
believe
are.
Kathy gave us one today.
Kathy did, yeah.
Oh, did she? Okay, cool. I'm sorry I didn't bring it up. I know that she wanted to see Lori. I didn't see the super chat though. So Kathy, thanks. So speaking of Kathy, she is promoting a rally at Weiss Hospital tomorrow afternoon at 1:00. Food, music, open mic, and much, much more. Awesome, Kathy. I hope some of our viewers can join you. I'm going to be recording a reaction video with Kit for Goodfellas at the studio, which should be a lot of fun. Yeah. So, all right, gentlemen, I'm going to release you from your duties here in the show. And to everyone else out there, I want to thank you again for joining us tonight for our Friday night edition of Chicago Corner. And as always, as we go into the Chicago weekend, especially with the Air and Water Show, if you're downtown, please be careful out there. Watch out for each other. Be safe. Be vigilant. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. I'm going to let our patron saints of Chicago Corner, Jake and Elwood, and our formerly disgraced governor of the great state of Illinois, Rod Blagojevich, to take us out. Be safe, Chicago.
Walk through a party at the county jail. Friends about the bed, they began to wail. The joint was jumping and the band began to sway. Should have heard the knocked out jailbird say, well, let's rock. Everybody, let's rock.
Everybody in the whole jail block, hold hands and turn the jailhouse around. Shifty Henry said to Buck, for heaven's sake, no one's looking, now's a chance to make a break. Bugsy turned to Shifty and he said, Nix, Nix, I wanna sick a run of what I get of my kicks. Well, let's rock. Everybody, let's rock.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.